Chapter 555. Divine runes were divided into 8 main attributes. Long Yu was compatible with the shadow and life attributes. Although the Yu divine rune he comprehended was of a higher grade than the divine runes others comprehended, it was ultimately still the power of the shadow attribute. It was unable to break away from the shackles of these 8 attributes, as Tai Sun defended to his heart's content, allowing Long Yu to freely unleash his power. Long Yu finally had a breakthrough in the Dark Dragon 9 explosions. He comprehended it to the transformation stage and mastered the last 2 explosions. Dark Dragon 9 explosions. 8th explosion, evil thought explosion. Long Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The power of the Yu divine rune violently swept towards Tai Sun, immediately triggering all the evil thoughts in Tai Sun's heart. This move was more effective against those with a dark and evil heart. It could use the dragon's roar to detonate the evil thoughts in the opponent's body. It was a spiritual attack. When the dragon's roar resounded, Tai Sun's entire body froze in place. If someone could see his expression through the iron mask, they would know that Tai Sun was in extreme pain. All the evil thoughts in his heart, such as greed, brutality, and so on, were ignited by the dragon's roar like never before, causing his spirit to suffer extreme pain. This pain was far greater than most physical pain, so much so that Tai Sun almost gave up struggling and directly admitted defeat. However, Tai Sun knew that he could not lose this battle. If he lost, not only would it be a great blow to himself, but his future martial path would also be shrouded in the shadow of this battle. Bai Qing would also lose 3 great desolate level weapons. If that happened, Bai Qing would never let him go. Therefore, Tai Sun knew that even if he died, he could not lower his head and admit defeat to Long Yu. Giant Spirit Iron Arm, kill him. The power of the divine runes surged out from Tai Sun's body, forming a whirlwind of divine runes around his giant spirit iron arm that surged towards Long Yu. Unfortunately, it was too late for Tai Sun to counterattack. The dragon's roar had ignited the evil in Tai Sun's heart, and the power of his divine characters had been affected. Even when he activated the giant spirit iron arm, his speed was more than half that of his peak state. Before the giant spirit iron arm could hit Long Yu's head, Long Yu had already used the final explosion of the Nether Dragon 9 explosions, the 9th explosion, Heaven Yellow Springs explosion. As the last bit of power left in Long Yu's body surged out, it condensed into a black ball of light in his hand. This black ball of light was the Nether Heaven Yellow Springs world that he had formed by using the Nether divine character to incite the dragon's roar. In this netherworld world, there were countless evil spirits and souls. As long as he released another dragon roar, he would be able to detonate these evil spirits and souls, and the destructive power produced would probably be even stronger than the soul explosion of the netherworld void dragon blade. Long Yu looked at the black ball of light in his hand and saw that there were actually many souls of people he was familiar with in the Nether Springs world of the black ball of light. Could it be that the souls stored in this Nether Springs world are all from people I have killed before? No, it's not just that. Even if I was just by the side when they died, I could still collect their souls and bring them into the Nether Springs world. Long Yu found that all the souls in the Nether Springs world were people he had met before, including Yin Xing, Zhuo Zetian, and the others he had just killed, as well as the Jintian clan disciples he had killed a long time ago, such as Qin Tianke, Duanmu Cunlong, Yao Yin, and a series of other people he had almost forgotten. In the entire Nether Springs world, there were about 1,000 souls of martial arts cultivators. Only a small half of them were people Long Yu had personally killed, while the other half were martial arts cultivators who had died by Long Yu's side. Especially on Heavenly Mandate Island, when facing the invasion of exotic beasts, the number of martial arts cultivators who had been sacrificed was the highest. If that's the case, explode. Long Yu threw the black ball of light in his hand at Tai Sun. At the same time, he quickly consumed the elixir that Shu Chan had given him before the battle, the silence powder. He had just used the dragon sparrow flash once. Now, only by consuming the silence powder could he use this martial arts technique again to block Tai Sun's attack. In the next moment, The black ball of light, the Nether Springs world, flew straight at Tai Sun and exploded in front of him, who was wearing an iron mask. His giant spirit iron arm also smashed heavily on the head of Long Yu. However, Long Yu's body became translucent at that moment and went to another independent space. The giant spirit iron arm went through his body and smashed heavily on the ground of the martial arts arena, but did not cause any damage to Long Yu. On the other hand, the black ball of light that Long Yu had condensed, the Nether Springs world, exploded in front of Tai Sun. Countless resentful souls turned into shock waves and shot toward Tai Sun. This move was the most powerful move of the Nether Dragon 9 explosions, a great desolate-level martial arts technique that he had comprehended to perfection. It was also the first time that Long Yu had used it since he had comprehended it. The thousands of martial arts cultivator souls stored in the Nether Springs world completely exploded at this moment. The power was extremely shocking. The dark aura in the field soared, instantly drowning Tai Sun and his giant spirit iron arm. It even covered the entire martial arts arena, making it impossible for the spectators to see what was happening in the field. Bai Qing, Yu Qing Sha, and Qi Shaoying suddenly stood up and looked at the field, frowning. Not only were the three of them at a very high level of martial arts, but they were also very experienced in combat. Their perception was very sharp, so they naturally felt that Long Yu had not been hit by the giant spirit iron arm, but Tai Sun had been hit by Long Yu's terrifying move. Although Tai Sun had always been known for his extremely strong defense, the power of Long Yu's explosion just now made even Bai Qing feel a trace of danger. Even Bai Qing felt a sense of danger, so one could imagine how powerful that move was. Even Tai Sun did not have absolute confidence in blocking it. The black smoke and dust in the field gradually dispersed, and the power of the divine characters gradually subsided. Everyone's gazes were fixed on the field. When they saw that Long Yu was still standing in the field, but Tai Sun, who had transformed into a body of steel, had collapsed in a pool of blood. Even though he had transformed into a body of steel, he had not been able to block Long Yu's move. Many people in the field had felt the power of Long Yu's move just now, and all of them kept quiet out of fear. They looked at Long Yu as if they were looking at a monster. A Heavenly Tribulation Realm kid had actually defeated 3 Divine Ability Realm experts head-on. This was the most bizarre thing they had ever seen in their entire lives. Long Yu had clearly been at a disadvantage from the beginning until the end, and he had been suppressed by Tai Sun's giant spirit iron arm. But who would have thought that Tai Sun would be defeated by Long Yu in one go in the end? A dragon's roar resounded, and Tai Sun was annihilated. At this moment, everyone wanted to know what kind of martial skill Long Yu had used just now. Even an ordinary grand, desolate martial skill probably did not have such power, right? Even if it was a grand, desolate martial skill that had been comprehended to perfection, it was impossible for Long Yu to cross such a huge gap and kill Tai Sun, who had 3 Divine Ability Realm experts. Could it be that it wasn't just a grand, desolate martial skill, but a martial skill of an even higher level? How is that possible? There's only one ancient martial skill in the entire Tianqin dynasty, and it is in the hands of the Emperor of Tianqin. How could this kid have learned an ancient martial skill? That move just now must have been a grand, desolate martial skill that had been comprehended to perfection. Moreover, this Long Yu has also comprehended a very strong divine rune power. He must have obtained a shadow divine rune inscription before. That's right. Not only that, this kid really has an ancient combat weapon. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to contend with Tai Sun for so long. The result is out. Bai Qing has really lost face. The 3 Divine Ability Realm experts she sent out actually lost to a Heavenly Realm kid. TSK, TSK, TSK. Not only the spectators, but the participants of the battle also had their expressions change, especially Bai Qing. When she saw Tai Sun silently lying in a pool of blood, her enchanting face turned black. Tai Sun's defeat meant that she had lost the bet. If she lost, she would have to pay the price. The 3 grand, desolate combat weapons now belonged to Long Yu. Bai Qing couldn't believe the result. How is this possible? Tai Sun, who had 3 Divine Ability Realm experts, was still no match for Long Yu. What kind of freak was this kid? It didn't matter that Bai Qing had lost, and the problem of losing face wasn't important either. The problem was that she had borrowed the 3 grand desolate combat weapons from someone else. When Tai Sun collapsed, Bai Qing immediately sensed that Yu Qingsha and Qi Shaoyin had both cast their gazes on her. Yu Qingsha's emerald bracelet, Qi Shaoyin's firestorm wheels, and the charred combat weapon that Mo Zhaiqian had lent to Bai Qing. The 3 grand desolate combat weapons were now in the hands of Shu Quan. Since Long Yu had won the battle, there was no way Shu Quan would hand over the 3 combat weapons. For a moment, Bai Qing and the crowd behind her were speechless. This result wasn't something that any of them could accept. The result isn't certain yet. Bai Qing, know Tai Sun's defense very well. Although he's bleeding a lot now, it doesn't mean that he's dead. Bai Qing braced herself and said. Then, she looked at the martial arts field and saw that Tai Sun's finger seemed to have moved a little. This discovery made Bai Qing overjoyed. As long as Tai Sun wasn't dead, Long Yu would be at Tai Sun's mercy. After all, everyone could see that Long Yu had exhausted all the divine character energy in his body. He had almost no combat strength left. Tai Sun casually used 2 moves, and Long Yu would die without a burial ground. He's not dead yet. Long Yu frowned slightly. Of course, he had also seen Tai Sun's finger move, but he wasn't worried. Now he was facing a seriously injured Tai Sun, which was completely different from Tai Sun in his peak state. If he was facing Tai Sun in his peak state, it would be impossible for Long Yu to win. But now, he didn't need to use the divine character Yu to kill Tai Sun. Divine concealment. When Tai Sun's finger moved, Long Yu immediately used the divine character concealment and disappeared from the martial arts field once again. Tai Sun, stand up. Bai Qing stood on the martial arts field and snorted coldly. Chapter 556. Tai Sun's eyes were dyed red with blood. Although his armor and mask had been shattered, no one could see what he looked like because his face was covered in blood. He opened his eyes and scanned his surroundings. However, he did not see any trace of Long Yu. He immediately knew that something was wrong. He immediately activated the power of the divine characters in his body and prepared to condense the giant spirit steel armor. Although he was seriously injured, Tai Sun's divine text power recovered rather quickly. Moreover, he had not used up all the power of the divine text. At this moment, it was relatively easy to condense the giant spirit steel armor. However, before he could condense the full set of giant spirit steel armor, Long Yu's figure suddenly appeared beside him. He held the void nether dragon blade and stabbed it at Tai Sun's waist. Soul absorption, soul explosion. At this moment, Long Yu directly activated the void nether dragon blade's soul absorption effect. He once again absorbed Tai Sun's soul seal and directly used the soul explosion. However, Long Yu found that absorbing Tai Sun's soul seal for the second time did not increase the power of the void nether dragon blade much. Also, after using the soul explosion, it did not have much destructive power. It seems that soul absorption is not very effective against the same person in a short period of time, Long Yu thought in his heart. But even so, when a nether void dragon blade soul exploded, a violent shockwave blasted against Tai Sun's body. Even though Tai Sun had condensed the giant spirit steel armor on his side at the critical moment, he was still blasted backward. After being heavily injured by Long Yu's Nether Dragon 9 explosions, Tai Sun's battle prowess was already less than 1/10 of his original strength. After Long Yu sent his opponent flying, his figure disappeared once more. In the next instant, he appeared behind Tai Sun. Die! The void nether dragon blade in Long Yu's hand stabbed straight at Tai Sun's back. In the next moment, it pierced his back. The power of the netherworld laws instantly passed through the void nether dragon blade into his body and began to corrode his meridians. Originally, Long Yu had wanted to instantly kill Tai Sun, but Tai Sun's defensive abilities were just too strong. At the last moment, he was still able to condense the power of the steel divine characters to stop the void nether dragon blade from shattering his heart. Long Yu didn't manage to kill Tai Sun with a single strike, so he immediately retreated backward. In the blink of an eye, he had flown a distance of more than 1,000 feet. It was also at this moment that Tai Sun seized the opportunity. A vicious look flashed in his eyes as he suddenly stomped his foot. A metal spike shot out from beneath the training grounds where Long Yu was, and it actually stabbed towards Long Yu without any warning. This isn't an innate technique, it's just an acquired technique of the Earth realm, and it's being activated by the power of the divine characters. Long Yu immediately reacted. He knew that Tai Sun had temporarily lost a large portion of his combat power. After all, he had already used all 3 of his innate techniques once, and he wouldn't be able to use them again in a short period of time. Just now, he had condensed the giant spirit steel armor forcefully in a moment of desperation, so the effect wasn't very good. He had been repelled by Long Yu's relatively weak soul explosion. At this moment, Tai Sun could only use the techniques that he had cultivated to fight against Long Yu. However, the acquired technique that he had cultivated was only the Earth Dragon Metal Spike. If he used other techniques, he wouldn't be able to use the power of the divine characters to execute them. It would probably be impossible for him to kill Long Yu. Siphon Divine Characters, Reincarnation Barrier. Long Yu sensed an iron spike shooting towards him from below. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. He raised his hand and released a 5-colored Siphon Divine Rune. Immediately after, a layer of pitch-black Samsara barrier condensed in front of him. Facing Tai Sun's Earth-level acquired technique, Long Yu actually chose to block it head-on. This scene caused the surrounding spectators to exclaim in surprise once again. Is this Long Yu crazy? That's an Earth-level acquired technique, after all. Moreover, it was executed by 3 people in the divinity realm. Does he really think that he, a guy in the heavenly being realm, can block it head-on? Previously, this Long Yu kept dodging and didn't face it head-on. But now, he's taking the initiative to block Tai Sun's technique head-on. It's clear that he has full confidence now. I think so too. If he wasn't full of confidence, I'm afraid that no one would do something so obviously suicidal. Just as the majority of the people had guessed, Long Yu's double defense had directly blocked the Earth Dragon Iron Spike that Tai Sun had executed. The 5-colored Siphon Divine Runes directly absorbed 40% of the Earth Dragon Metal Spike's power and counteracted it, canceling out the original power of the Earth Dragon Metal Spike. In total, 80% of the Earth Dragon Metal Spike's power was eliminated. Immediately after, the 80% weakened Earth Dragon Metal Spike hit Long Yu's Reincarnation Barrier head-on, but it was completely blocked by the Reincarnation Barrier. Not only that, but the Reincarnation Barrier also directly reflected half of the power back to Tai Sun. Tai Sun only felt a metal spike suddenly shoot out from under his feet, catching him off guard. Fortunately, the power of the reflected Earth Dragon Metal Spike was not very strong, so Tai Sun casually dodged it. You've already lost, Long Yu indifferently said as he flew not far away, feeling the netherworld chi continuously wreaking havoc in Tai Sun's body and spreading rapidly. You're courting death. Tai Sun did not believe it. To him, to lose to a kid in the heavenly being realm was something that would never happen in his life. With such an experience, it was really laughable. Moreover, if he lost this battle, how could Bai Qing, Yu Qing Sha, and Qi Shaoyin let him go? Iron Arm, real spirit. Come out. Tai Sun's eyes were filled with endless anger and murderous intent. At this moment, he finally released his real spirit, and a wave of power of the law of steel swept out. However, this also meant that Tai Sun did not have any more powerful techniques. Tai Sun had actually released his real spirit. It was obvious that he was at his wit's end. Otherwise, he would not have even released his real spirit to participate in the battle. For most martial cultivators, once they stepped into the heavenly being realm, their real spirit became dispensable. Unless they were in a desperate situation, very few people would release their real spirit. This was because if he could not defeat his opponent with other techniques, even if he released his real spirit, it would be useless. Real spirit? I happen to have one too, and I have more than one. Upon seeing this, Long Yu's eyes lit up. He took out an Earth-level combat weapon bracelet and put it on his wrist. This combat weapon bracelet was obtained by Long Yu from a martial cultivator he had killed in the Nightmare Mountain range. After wearing it, it could strengthen the power of the real spirit. Tai Sun's real spirit was only condensed from an Earth-level heavenly monument law, which was on par with Long Yu's real spirit of Yin. Now that Long Yu had released both the heaven-suppressing sun and the moon-suppressing true spirit, they complemented each other and strengthened each other. Furthermore, with the help of the Earth-level combat weapon bracelet, his real spirit was no weaker than Tai Sun's real spirit. In the next moment, countless crescent-killing saber rays flew out and covered the entire training ground like moonlight, sweeping toward Tai Sun at an extreme speed. These crescent-killing saber rays were condensed from the Law of Yin. After being strengthened by the Earth-level combat weapon bracelet, their power was quite impressive. This was especially true for Tai Sun, whose body had been stirred up by the law of Netherworld. It was extremely difficult for him to defend against the crescent-killing saber rays. Real spirit of Iron Arms attack. Tai Sun's eyes were bloodshot. He could no longer care about his meridians being corroded by the Netherworld Chi. He urged the real spirit of Iron Arms to meet the crescent-killing saber rays head-on. Under the astonished gazes of the surrounding crowd, the two of them were both at the true spirit realm, yet it was completely one-sided. Faced against Long Yu's moon-slaying blade light that filled the sky, the iron-armed true spirit was actually unable to last more than a breath of time before it was completely shattered. This caused Tai Sun, who had a close connection with the iron-armed true spirit, to spit out another mouthful of blood. Following that, the remaining crescent-killing saber rays stabbed into Tai Sun's body. Although Tai Sun had comprehended the power of the divine runes of iron and steel, they didn't kill him directly. However, they still inflicted more serious injuries on him. Tai Sun was gravely injured by the underworld explosion, then corroded by the netherworld chi. In the end, the crescent-killing saber rays pierced through his body, turning him into a scarecrow. However, Tai Sun still wanted to kill Long Yu. He forced the divine runes of Iron Arms in his body to form a giant spirit iron arm to kill Long Yu. However, as soon as he was about to activate the divine runes of Iron Arms, he relaxed the suppression on the netherworld chi in his body. In the next moment, the netherworld chi burst out and corroded his meridians to pieces. Ugh! Before Tai Sun could form a giant spirit iron arm, he had lost all signs of life. He fell heavily on the training ground with a longing for the world. This horrifying scene completely shook the hearts of the spectating martial cultivators. It was not that they had never seen a bloody scene before, but it was the first time they had seen a powerful being with 3 divine tier powers being killed by a kid in the celestial realm. They had never even heard of such a thing before. They did not even dare to imagine such a thing happening. But now, such a scene was happening right in front of them. Long Yu looked at Tai Sun's corpse 100 feet away. His heart was as calm as an ancient well, without any emotions. If he had a choice, he wouldn't have killed Tai Sun. After all, he had no enmity with Tai Sun. However, Tai Sun helped Bai Qing and participated in the battle. His goal was obviously to kill Long Yu. From the beginning of the battle, either Tai Sun or Long Yu would die. There were no other circumstances. Compared to pity, Long Yu clearly valued his own life more. Damn it, not far away, Bai Qing cursed Tai Sun for being a piece of trash. At the same time, she was terrified of Long Yu's fighting strength and his speed of growth. That's right, she was terrified. As the 4th disciple of the Shura Prefecture King, Bai Qing hadn't felt this way in a long time. However, when she saw Long Yu kill Tai Sun, her pride and joy, her heart shuddered. Although Bai Qing knew that if she went up now, she could easily kill Long Yu, there would definitely be many people obstructing her, making it impossible for her to do so. She was powerless to stop Long Yu's rapid growth. Chapter 557. Sahan's Han, who was at the spectator's stand, immediately stood up when he saw Tai Sun die and fall to the ground. He laughed out loud and cheered. "Good job, kid. Sahan's Han had been worried about Long Yu since the beginning. Now that he saw Long Yu kill Tai Sun, he was finally relieved. To be honest, Sahan's Han hadn't expected the result of the battle to be like this. Tai Sun, who had 3 Divinity Realm experts with outstanding defense, had actually died in the hands of Long Yu. However, it was precisely because of this suspense that so many people had come to watch the battle. After all, Long Yu had created many miracles since he came to Shura Prefecture. This kid is worthy of being my subordinate. Shu Chan smiled and admired Long Yu even more. At this moment, Long Yu's position in her heart had been elevated to the same level as Mo Zhaitian's. It should be known that even Mo Zhaitian couldn't defeat 3 Divinity Realm experts with just the cultivation of the Tribulation Realm. Didn't this mean that as long as Long Yu's martial arts realm improved, he would surpass everyone? It's really unexpected, but it's not much different from what I calculated. Half-immortal Jia shook his head and said with a smile. He had an innate ability that allowed him to predict what would happen in the future. Although the prediction wasn't very clear and accurate, he could still get a general idea of what would happen in the future. Before the battle started, Banxian Jia had calculated for Long Yu and calculated that Long Yu would not be in any danger today. In this case, it was most likely that Long Yu would win or that Long Yu would admit defeat. The possibility of Long Yu admitting defeat was extremely low. You old faker, why don't you calculate for me when I can get a wife? Xing Wu patted Banxian Jia's shoulder and joked. Big brother Xing, if a mighty expert like you really wanted to get a wife, there would be hundreds of girls rushing to you in a minute. Little fatty Rin Ping Fan said with a chuckle, causing everyone to laugh. When Long Yu won the bet, everyone's mood clearly relaxed a lot. In the crowd, Xiao Zhu and Shuyan stood at the back and whispered to each other. Xiao Zhu looked at Long Yu and smiled. Xiao Yan, what do you think of Long Yu? Shuyan's eyes shone brightly. His natural talent is very high, and I'm not worthy of him. I'm just a servant girl under the princess, and I don't dare to snatch the princess man. The princess's man? Xiao Zhu had a strange look on his face. Yeah, didn't you see the Grim Reaper's heavenly tribulation last time? Shuyan giggled. This Long Yu overcame his Grim Reaper heavenly tribulation in the princess courtyard. It's obvious that the princess attaches great importance to him. Moreover, even if she was a princess, she still had to find a man, right? I'm afraid there aren't many men in the entire Shura Prefecture who are worthy of the princess. Long Yu is quite suitable. Aren't you afraid that the princess will be angry with you for saying such things? Xiao Zhu chuckled when he heard that. The princess won't be angry with me. Moreover, isn't what I said the truth? Shuyan covered her mouth and giggled. The 2 girls whispered to each other, but they didn't know that their words were heard by Shu Chan. Although Shuyan's words were a little rude to Shu Chan felt that Shuyan was a sister who had grown up with her since young. Hence, Shu Chan wouldn't really be angry if Shuyan made such a joke. However, Shuyan's words made Shu Chan's heart skip a beat. She couldn't help but take a few more glances at Long Yu on the martial arts field. Today's battle has really broadened my horizons. On the spectator stand, Yu Qingsha, who was wearing a green dress, stood up. With an extremely cold gaze, she stared at Long Yu and said, I can't give you my great desolate level warrior weapon, the Gravity Peak Ring. Tell me, what do you want me to exchange for it? Her words caused the chaotic atmosphere on the martial arts field to become tense again. Yu Qingsha had taken out her great desolate level weapon, the Gravity Ridge Bracelet, to lend it to Bai Qing and Long Yu for the battle. She didn't expect Tai Sun to lose. In this way, the emerald green Gravity Ridge Bracelet would belong to Long Yu. However, the Gravity Ridge Bracelet and Yu Qingsha had already reached a very high level, so she naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. Me too. The young master of the Scarlet Moon Valley, Qi Xiaoyin, wore a rather gloomy expression. However, when he spoke to Long Yu, he still carried a hint of arrogance. Long Yu, my fire and beacon wheels aren't something you can afford. I'll use a great desolate level pill to exchange for it. Consider a bargain for you. As Qi Xiaoyin spoke, the atmosphere on the martial arts field became even more tense. Yu Qingsha and Qi Xiaoyin were the two great experts of the younger generation in Azura County, especially Qi Xiaoyin, who had the backing of the entire Scarlet Moon Valley sect. Even the young county princess, Shu Chan, couldn't completely block this matter for Long Yu. Yu Qingsha's words were considered to have left some face for Shu Chan. After all, she was the disciple of Shu Chan's father, so it was impossible for her to disregard Shu Chan in her actions and words. However, Qi Xiaoyin's words did not take anyone's face into consideration at all. His words were extremely arrogant, exchanging a great desolate level pill for a great desolate level weapon. Such words were spoken in such a dignified manner. One must know that a great desolate level weapon was at least 10 times more valuable than a great desolate level pill. However, Qi Xiaoyin's words clearly indicated that he felt that Long Yu wouldn't have the guts to disobey him. Fortunately, we've pointed the spearhead at Long Yu. Bai Qing heaved a sigh of relief on the stage after hearing Yu Qingsha and Qi Xiaoyin's words. Fortunately, the two of them did not point the spearhead at her, but at Long Yu instead. This way, the cost of exchanging a great desolate level weapon would naturally be borne by Bai Qing. However, compared to losing two great desolate level weapons and offending Yu Qingsha and Qi Xiaoyin, it was already a pretty good result for Bai Qing to get a few more great desolate level pills. However, to Bai Qing's surprise, Mo Zhaiqian, who had also lent her the weapon, did not step forward to say anything. He did not even appear at the scene, which made her unable to understand what he was thinking. Could it be that he was going to let the great desolate level weapon be lost to Long Yu just like that? How is that possible? One must know that Mo Zhaiqian was the #1 genius among the younger generation of the Azura County. He would most likely step into the Emperor Path, mystical realm soon. Ever since he became famous, he had been extremely domineering. Logically speaking, Mo Zhaiqian should be the first one to step forward when something like this happened, exchanging a great desolate level pill for a great desolate level weapon. Young master of the Crimson Moon Empire, you're really something. Long Yu ignored Yu Qingsha for the time being. He looked at the arrogant Qi Xiaoyin and said coldly, "A loss in a bet is a loss. These fire beacon wheels are now my Long Yu's weapon. If you want it, I'll set the terms. Brat, these fire beacon wheels are already compatible with me. Tian Qi, what's the use of them?" Qi Xiaoyin's eyes flickered with cold, killing intent. "I'm already giving you a great desolate level pill. If you don't know what's good for you, I can take the fire beacon wheels back with a single thought. 10 great desolate level pills, and I'll return the weapon to you." Long Yu said indifferently, not minding the threat in Qi Xiaoyin's words. When Long Yu said these words, all the cultivators present sucked in a mouthful of cold air. This brat really dared to say such words. Even if he defeated Tai Sun, he was only a guy with 3 divine abilities and was only Bai Qing's subordinate. The one talking to Long Yu was the young master of the Crimson Moon Valley, Qi Xiaoyin. His status and strength were even higher than Bai Qing's. Facing Qi Xiaoyin, Long Yu actually dared to speak in such a manner. 10 great desolate level pills, how dare you? Qi Xiaoyin laughed out of anger. In any case, the price to exchange for the weapon would not be his, but Bai Qing's. However, Long Yu slapping his face in public was a great humiliation to Qi Xiaoyin. To Qi Xiaoyin, 10 great desolate level pills might be precious, but it was not like he couldn't afford it. However, if he really took out 10 great desolate level pills, wouldn't he lose to Long Yu in terms of momentum? What face would he have left? If that's the case, don't blame me for being unreasonable. Qi Xiaoyin harumphed coldly and raised his hand. Fire beacon wheels, return. Following his words, the pair of fire beacon wheels stored with Shu Chan immediately became restless, wanting to break free from Shu Chan's restraint and return to Qi Xiaoyin's side. However, at this moment, Long Yu also sneered, flew to Shu Chan's side, and raised his head to look at Qi Xiaoyin. Young Master Qi Xiaoyin, an exchange of goods is only a transaction if the value is equal. 10 great desolate level pills shouldn't be too much for you, right? If you really want to fight me head on, you'll have to bear the consequences. Bear the consequences? Hearing these words, Qi Xiaoyin's eyes narrowed. Everyone knew that when Qi Xiaoyin's young master made such an expression, he was about to truly become angry. I really want to see what you can do to me. Qi Xiaoyin was completely enraged by Long Yu's words. Profound qi burst forth from his body, summoning the fire beacon wheels even more intensely. He wanted to cooperate with the self-awareness that the fire beacon wheels had already developed and make the fire beacon wheels return to his side. Sensing Qi Xiaoyin's summoning, the twin wheels of wind and fire that were suppressed by Shu Quan immediately erupted with immense power. Endless raging flames spewed out. Do you still want to fight again? Seeing the situation, young Princess Shu Quan naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. With a cold glint in her eyes, she raised her hand, and the power of Azura, divine runes spread out, forming a pitch-black mist that suppressed the endless flames of the fire beacon wheels. Moreover, under Shu Chan's suppression, it was almost impossible for the fire beacon wheels to return to Qi Xiaoyin's side. However, at this moment, the great desolate-level combat weapon next to the fire beacon wheels, the emerald green gravity peak ring, also began to move restlessly. After all, the gravity peak ring had already fused with Yu Qingsha to an extremely high level and also possessed self-awareness. Seeing the fire beacon wheels begin to resist, the gravity peak ring subconsciously helped. This was not Yu Qingsha's idea, but the gravity peak ring's own idea as a great desolate-level combat weapon. Qi Xiaoyin, this is your choice. Seeing this, Long Yu's eyes flashed with determination. Since Qi Xiaoyin was bullying him so arrogantly, how could he just sit and watch as Shu Quan fought for him? Nether Void Dragon Blade, come out. Extract the soul seal from the fire beacon wheels and annihilate its self-awareness. Chapter 558. When Long Yu resonated with the Nether Void Dragon Blade, he would be able to use it to absorb the soul imprints of other cultivators and store them to increase his own power. After attuning with the soul, he would be able to detonate the stored soul imprints, producing an extremely powerful destructive force. The effect of a Nether Void Dragon Blade was far from that. Previously, Long Yu discovered that he could use the Nether Void Dragon Blade to easily remove the soul imprints of other cultivators in the battle weapons. Normally, it would be very difficult for a battle weapon to merge with another cultivator after it fell into the hands of another. However, Long Yu could break this rule by using the Nether Void Dragon Blade. Now, he wanted to use the Nether Void Dragon Blade to absorb Qi Xiaoyin's soul imprints from the fire beacon wheels. Then, this great desolate-level battle weapon would become ownerless. Normally, only experts in the Emperor Path Mystic Realm would be able to do this, but Long Yu could use the Nether Void Dragon Blade to achieve this. Qi Xiaoyin, since you're not willing to take out something of equal value in exchange, then this fire beacon wheels will now belong to me. Long Yu, now annihilate for me. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Then, under the astonished gaze of Shu Quan, he stabbed the Nether Void Dragon Blade towards the fire beacon wheels. A pitch-black netherworld qi shot out and instantly enveloped the fire beacon wheels. The twin wheels of wind and fire stimulated endless raging flames, but they were all blocked by Shu Chan's Azura divine runes. Now, Long Yu released the netherworld energy, easily covering the twin wheels of wind and fire. Immediately after, the effect of the Nether Void Dragon Blade was activated. In the next moment, Qi Xiaoyin's soul imprint was extracted from the fire beacon wheels. As Qi Xiaoyin's soul imprint was absorbed into the Nether Void Dragon Blade, the self-consciousness produced by the fire beacon wheels would gradually dissipate. From then on, this desolate-level combat weapon would no longer have any connection with Qi Xiaoyin. In the blink of an eye, Qi Xiaoyin lost his sense of the fire beacon twin wheels, and the arrogance in his eyes turned into astonishment. He also wanted to activate the fire beacon wheels and directly cooperate with the self-consciousness of the war soldier to make it return to his side and take it away. However, he didn't expect that in just a moment, Long Yu would actually tamper with the fire beacon wheels. What did you do to the fire beacon twin wheels? Qi Xiaoyin's expression was extremely gloomy. The twin wheels of fire and beacon were great desolate-grade combat weapons that he valued greatly. They were also an important part of his combat strength. But now he had lost his connection with the fire beacon wheels, as if the battle weapon had been taken away by Long Yu. "What does it have to do with you what I do to my soldiers?" Long Yu said indifferently. He casually picked up the fire beacon wheels and held them in his hands. With a thought, the wind fire wheels spouted out a stream of flames. It was obvious that the twin fire beacon wheels were listening to Long Yu's command. "From the moment I defeated Tai Sun, the fire beacon wheels belonged to me, Long Yu. Since young Master Chi Yu isn't willing to exchange 10 great desolate grade pills for it, I'll reluctantly accept the fire beacon wheels." The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled slightly, and he directly put the fire beacon wheels into the storage space of the Nether Dragon Blade. This scene caused everyone in the surroundings to be shocked on the spot, and even the young Canton princess, Shu Chan, had a wisp of surprise on her beautiful face. Long Yu actually had such a terrifying ability to destroy the soul imprint on the battle weapon in an instant and annihilate the self-consciousness of the battle weapon. Now, the great desolate grade battle weapon, the fire beacon twin wheels, had completely become Long Yu's. After putting away the fire beacon twin wheels, Long Yu took 2 steps back and arrived beside Shu Chan. He completely ignored Qi Xiaoyin's murderous gaze. "Long Yu, very good. Today, I'll let you know the consequences of offending me." Qi Xiaoyin's face was gloomy. Long Yu's move had directly snatched away his fire beacon twin wheels. Even if he snatched the fire beacon twin wheels back in the future, it would not be easy to fuse them with Tian Qi. This filled Qi Xiaoyin's heart with true anger. "Did I offend young Master Qi Yu?" Long Yu smiled faintly. "Why do I remember that it was always young Master Qi Yu who bullied me and wanted to exchange a great desolate grade pill for a great desolate grade weapon? If it was someone else, they might have agreed to young Master's request to avoid young Master's secret revenge in the future. However, I, Long Yu, am not afraid of you." As soon as Long Yu said this, the entire martial arts field was in an uproar. Everyone knew that Long Yu had Shu Chan's support, so there was no need for him to be afraid of Qi Xiaoyin's revenge. However, wasn't Long Yu going too far? Of course, if Long Yu agreed to Qi Xiaoyin's condition and used a great desolate grade pill to exchange for the fire beacon twin wheels, he would lose all the face of the princess. But now, Long Yu did not bargain at all and directly sucked away the soul imprint in the fire beacon twin wheels, making this great desolate grade weapon his own. This action had completely offended Qi Xiaoyin. According to everyone's thoughts, facing such a situation, Long Yu should strive to exchange the weapon for 10 great desolate grade pills, 9, or even 8 great desolate grade pills. However, they did not think about how much pressure and hardship Long Yu, with his heavenly tribulation realm cultivation, had to face Tai Sun, who had 3 divine power realms, alone. In the martial arts field, if Long Yu was careless, he would die without a burial place. After finally winning, when it was time to collect the spoils of war, Qi Xiaoyin used his power to oppress others and wanted to use a great desolate grade pill to exchange for the weapon. How could Long Yu be willing? Long Yu stepped back. At this moment, Shu Chan suddenly chuckled and patted Long Yu's shoulder. She stood in front of Long Yu and raised her pretty face to look at Qi Xiaoyin not far away. "Young Master Qi Yu, we fought not long ago, and there was no clear victor last time. There's no need to fight again now, right? Princess, don't use your status to suppress this young master. Hand over that brat Long Yu, and this young master will not trouble you." Qi Xiaoyin straightforwardly made a request and said to Shu Chan with a gloomy face. This time, Qi Xiaoyin, had suffered a great loss. If he knew that this brat Long Yu had the ability to directly destroy the soul imprint of the weapon, he would not have forced Long Yu like this. At most, he would use 10 great desolate grade pills to exchange for it. After all, no matter how many pills he used, it would not be Qi Xiaoyin who had to pay. It would definitely be Bai Qing who would deal with it. However, Qi Xiaoyin cared too much about his face and always wanted to use his power to oppress Long Yu. forcing Long Yu to do such an extreme thing. Since things had already come to this, Qi Xiaoyin naturally could not let it go. He immediately asked Shu Chan to hand over Long Yu. "Young Master Qi Yu, I will never hand over my friend to you." Hearing this, Shu Chan did not panic in the slightest. A smile appeared on her beautiful face as she said, "Everyone saw the whole thing clearly. Long Yu won the bet, and that battle weapon belongs to him. Right now, you should be asking my fourth senior sister for it. Why are you forcing Long Yu like this?" These words immediately struck a chord in the hearts of many surrounding martial cultivators. The one who borrowed the weapon from Qi Xiaoyin was Bai Qing. Now that Bai Qing had lost the weapon, Qi Xiaoyin did not look for Bai Qing, but instead threatened Long Yu like this. He was clearly picking on the soft spot. With Qi Xiaoyin's status, even the princess could not suppress him. How difficult would it be for him to deal with one of Shu Chan's subordinates? Who would have thought that Long Yu would be so strong-willed and the princess, Shu Chan, was so protective of him, leading to the current situation? Right now, they were in the Azura Valley. If a fight really broke out, Qi Xiaoyin absolutely wouldn't be able to gain the upper hand. Just the covetous eyes of the Imperial Army members around the martial stage were enough to completely suppress Qi Xiaoyin. "Long Yu, you're quite a domineering dog. Do you only know how to hide behind a woman?" Qi Xiaoyin knew that he could not win against Shu Chan, so he could only continue to point the spearhead at Long Yu. He said viciously, "Do you dare to come out and fight with this young master? If you win, this young master will not pursue today's matter. But if you lose, you will obediently follow this young master, and do not let the princess interfere. Do you dare or not?" As soon as these words came out, many people's gazes focused on Long Yu. They were all a little expectant. Could it be that they would be able to witness another exciting battle where the weak defeated the strong? Unfortunately, Long Yu naturally would not be swayed by this kind of low-end provocation. He chuckled and glanced at Qi Xiaoyin. "If you want to fight with me, there's no problem. The rules are the same as Bai Qing's. Whatever cultivation level you want to send, you'll have to take out as many desolate grade soldiers as the wager. Let's see if you dare or not." These words immediately caused Qi Xiaoyin to choke back his words. 3 transcendent realm cultivators, Tai Sun, who was famous for his defense, had died in Long Yu's hands. If he wanted to send out more people, wouldn't he need at least 4 transcendent realm cultivators? That would require at least 4 desolate grade soldiers. Not even Qi Xiaoyin could take out that many. "I can't take out so many desolate grade soldiers, but this young master can make the decision. I'll use the Scarlet Moon Valley's annual income to bet with you. It should be enough for you to buy 4 desolate grade soldiers." Qi Xiaoyin coldly snorted. He then looked at Long Yu provocatively, waiting for Long Yu to accept the bet. Everyone in the surroundings was stunned by his words. The Scarlet Moon Valley's annual income? That was definitely not a small number. It was definitely more than several million Tianqin dollars. It could really buy 4 desolate grade soldiers. For a moment, everyone was in a heated discussion. They were all amazed by Qi Xiaoyin's generosity. From this, it could be seen how strong Qi Xiaoyin's determination to deal with Long Yu was. However, before Long Yu could reply, an incomparably violent and furious roar descended from the sky. "You unfilial son! Hurry up and get back here! How long do you want to embarrass yourself outside for?" As soon as this voice came out, it was like a muffled thunder in everyone's ears. Then a fiercely burning cloud of fire descended from the sky, and a burly figure was faintly discernible in the cloud of fire. "Scarlet Moon Valley Master?" Shu Chan raised her head and frowned slightly. Chapter 559. Everyone present felt dizzy from the violent roar in the sky. Even Long Yu and Shu Chan were no exception. Shu Chan was fine. After all, her martial realm and strength were rather high, so she recovered very quickly. However, if Long Yu were to fall for it, he would definitely be stunned for a very long time. Fortunately, Long Yu reacted quickly. He immediately took the Dragon Bone Tower that Shu Chan was looking after and teleported into the Dragon Bone Tower through the spatial power of the Nether Void Dragon Blade. As soon as Long Yu entered the Dragonbone Tower, the tower was immediately activated. It suddenly expanded above Shu Chan's head, turning into a giant tower that was hundreds of meters tall. It was even larger than the entire training ground. When all the martial cultivators in the martial art practice grounds woke up, the scene had already changed. Above Shu Chan's head, a huge ancient pagoda quietly floated, its surface emitting a sinister and strange aura, with a thin layer of black chi lingering around it. As for the intense cloud of fire, it came crashing down and directly enveloped the ancient pagoda, as if it wanted to break through it. However, it was unable to do so. In the martial practice field, beside the Scarlet Lunar Valley's young master, Qi Xiaoyin, was a burly man with a face full of beard. His brows were rather similar to Qi Xiaoyin's, and he wore a fiery red robe with a glint in his eyes. He had used an extremely powerful technique when he had suddenly arrived. He first used sound waves to stun everyone present, wanted to take the opportunity to stun Long Yu, and then capture him. However, he had not expected Long Yu to remain vigilant at all times, entering the Dragonbone Tower in that instant. The Valley Master had heard of the Dragonbone Tower before, so he did not hesitate at all. He immediately used a natural ability, sending the fierce cloud of fire towards the Dragonbone Tower. Just as he had expected, the Dragonbone Tower managed to block his fierce cloud of fire. Even the methods of an Emperor Path cultivator were unable to break through the tower in a short amount of time. At this time, almost everyone in the martial arts practice field had woken up. On Shu Chan's side, everyone looked at the Scarlet Moon Valley Master as if they were facing a formidable enemy. "Uncle Qi, it's been a few years. How have you been?" Shu Chan looked at the Scarlet Moon Valley Master and asked directly. The Scarlet Moon Valley Master's name was Qi Fantian, and with Shu Chan's status, it was not wrong for her to call him Uncle Qi. In the past, whenever she saw him, she would always call him that. I'm fine. Qi Fantian laughed heartily. "I still have to congratulate young Canton Princess for actually finding such a capable subordinate. This Valley Master had intentionally come here to take a look. It seems that it was indeed not bad. Long Yu is not my subordinate. He is just a friend," Shu Chan said faintly. "I wonder if Uncle Qi has any other business to attend to this time." Of course, when Qi Fantian heard this, his face instantly darkened. He grabbed the Scarlet Moon Valley's young master Qi Xiaoyin beside him and said, "This little bastard is becoming more and more daring. He actually dared to make a scene in Azura Valley. This Valley Master will definitely go back and teach him a good lesson. As for that fire beacon dual-wheel war weapon, I will temporarily hand it over to young brother Long Yu for safekeeping. Young Canton Princess, we will meet again someday." When he finished speaking, Qi Fantian actually directly grabbed Qi Xiaoyin. The two red-robed figures instantly turned into flowing light and disappeared from everyone's eyes. The Scarlet Moon Valley Master came quickly and left just as quickly. Shu Chan almost did not react. This Qi Fantian used to love his precious son very much. Now that Qi Xiaoyin has suffered such a huge loss at the hands of Long Yu, he actually just made a move to test Long Yu. Shu Chan's heart sank. She felt that there seemed to be something unusual about this matter. However, when she thought about it again, everyone was currently in Azura Valley. Even if Qi Fantian came, it was impossible for him to go against the Azura Duke. Since he could not break the Dragon Skeleton Ancient Tower in a short period of time, then there was no need for Qi Fantian to offend the Azura Duke. He could just directly take Qi Xiaoyin away. Part of the reason why he appeared now was probably because he was afraid that Qi Xiaoyin would make a big deal out of this matter and suffer losses at the hands of the Azura Duke. With Qi Xiaoyin's status, if he suffered losses at the hands of Long Yu, it was very likely that he could get back at him in the future. However, if he suffered losses at the hands of the Azura Duke, it would not be so easy to get back at him. After Qi Fantian left, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. After all, an attack from an Emperor Path Mystic Realm martial artist was enough to shatter everyone present into pieces. That kind of pressure was not something that ordinary people could withstand. When Qi Fantian was present, the other martial cultivators did not even dare to breathe. It was because the pressure that Chi Fantion deliberately released was simply too strong. Princess, now that the Scarlet Moon Valley Master has left, there shouldn't be any problems, right? Shuyan was a little worried about Long Yu's safety. After raising her head to look at the dragon skeleton ancient tower, she asked Shu Chan, there shouldn't be any problems. The moment he appeared, my father must have sensed it. Shu Chan nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. She said, even if my father didn't appear, he would definitely be nearby to watch over us, just in case. However, this Scarlet Moon Valley Master's attitude is really strange. Ban Xianjia, who was at the side, frowned. If it was the Chi Fantion of the past, when Qi Xiaoyin was wronged outside, he would not stop for 3 days and 3 nights no matter what. Even if the Duke personally made a move, it would not be so easy to suppress it. This time, he left rather quickly. I'm afraid there are some hidden reasons. No matter what, tell Long Yu to be careful at all times. I think he is quite clever, so he shouldn't be ambushed, Xiao Zhu said with a frown. Right now, Long Yu is a famous person in our Shura prefecture. Apart from the first-class medal from before, news of the Shura selection, the bet with Bai Qing, and the Death God's heavenly tribulation will most likely spread. The danger he faces is not limited to our Shura prefecture. That's right. In the Tianqing dynasty, there are dozens of prefectures, and these prefectures compete with each other. Shu Chan nodded and said in deep thought, if Long Yu's reputation is too great, it will be very easy for him to be assassinated by other prefectures. With his current martial realm, it will be too difficult for him to deal with those assassinations. Next, let Xiao Qi stay with me. On the side, the burly elder brother, Xing Wu, said in a deep voice, with me guarding him, even if an assassin comes to kill him, I will be able to hold on for a while. All right, let's do that. Shu Chan nodded in agreement. Me too. For the first time, Dugu Yijian, who was usually quiet, said something. His words made the people around him look at him in confusion. That's strange. Second brother is also interested in Xiao Qi. Xing Wu grinned. Interested? Shu Chan, Xiao Zhu, and Shuyan's eyes lit up. Wasn't this supposed to be protecting Long Yu? Why did it have something to do with being interested? Could it be that big brother Xing Wu and second brother Dugu Yijian were... It was a slip of the tongue. Everyone, don't misunderstand. Cough, cough. Xing Wu blushed and quickly waved his hand. If that's the case, I will protect Xiao Qi with second brother. Princess, if there is any danger, second brother, and I should be able to hold on for quite some time. All right, I'll leave it to you guys. All right, Long Yu is here. Let's talk about this. Shu Chan gestured to the top of her head with her lips. Then, everyone saw Long Yu put away the ancient dragon bone tower and rapidly descend from the sky. Soon, Long Yu understood the current situation and had a certain understanding of the danger he was facing. There's one thing. The Scarlet Moon Valley Master attacked me just to test me. He didn't have any killing intent when he attacked me. I suspect that he had no intention of doing anything to me. Long Yu said with a frown as he recalled the situation just now. If that's the case, I'll have to ask Father. Shu Chan also frowned and shook her head. We won't be able to guess what's going on with Chi Fantion, even if we just keep guessing. I'll discuss with you guys after I ask my father. Now, Long Yu, you've obtained 3 great desolate level warriors. What are you going to do with them? Shu Chan raised her hand and showed the remaining 2 great desolate level warriors to Long Yu. One of them was Yu Qingsha's gravity ridge ring, and the other was the pitch-black charcoal warrior that Emo Zhaiqian had given him. I've already taken the fire beacon wheels. As for the gravity ridge ring, Long Yu's heart thumped, and he raised his head to look at Yu Qingsha, who was not far away. After the Scarlet Moon Valley Master's antics, Yu Qingsha knew that it was impossible for her to take advantage of Long Yu. Seeing Long Yu look at her, Yu Qingsha chuckled. Long Yu, I'll exchange 10 great desolate level elixirs for the gravity ridge ring. However, I don't have that many great desolate level elixirs for the time being. Can I owe it to you for now? Sure, but I'll only give you a month's time. You must exchange the elixirs for the warrior. Long Yu nodded and put the great desolate level emerald bracelet into the storage space of the nether dragon blade. Even though the battle weapon had an extremely high level of compatibility with Yu Qingxia when it was placed into the storage space of the Nether Void Dragon Blade, the connection between her and the battle weapon was cut off, causing her expression to change slightly. Long Yu, did you attack my warrior? Yu Qingxia asked with a gloomy expression. No. When you've collected 10 great desolate level elixirs, I'll naturally give them to you. Don't worry. With the princess here, you're not afraid that I'll play tricks on you. Long Yu shook his head and said, able to cut off the connection between me and the warrior. Yu Qingxia was relieved when she heard this. However, she thought of another problem, and her eyes sparkled. On the Heavenly Mandate Island, you were the one who broke the soul binding lock. You're right, but there's no reward. The corner of Long Yu's mouth curled up. Now that things had come to this, there was nothing wrong with letting Yu Qingxia know. After all, even the great desolate level warrior, the Gravity Ridge Ring, was in his hands. Was he lacking a fragment of a heaven-grade warrior? Then wait for my elixirs. Yu Qingxia smiled faintly, then turned around and floated away. Like a cloud, she disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Chapter 560. In this duel, the one who suffered the greatest loss was undoubtedly the Scarlet Moon Valley's young master, Qi Shaoying. His desolate grade combat weapon, the Fire Beacon Twin Wheels, that was compatible with Tianqi, had actually been lost to Long Yu. Not only that, but his soul imprint had been erased by Long Yu and Shu Quan, which was equivalent to him losing this combat weapon forever. Although it was mainly Shu Quan who suppressed the resistance of the Fire Beacon Twin Wheels during the process of erasing the soul imprint, Qi Shaoying naturally placed the hatred on Long Yu, who asked Long Yu to be powerless and have such a low cultivation realm. However, other than Qi Shaoying, the one who suffered the most was undoubtedly Bai Qing. Yu Qingxia only needed to give Bai Qing 10 great desolate grade pills to exchange for her Gravity Ridge Ring. It could be said that she had suffered almost no loss. However, how was Bai Qing supposed to prepare 10 great desolate grade pills? Even the cheapest great desolate grade pill would cost 100,000 Tianqin dollars. In Azura Prefecture, it was a situation where there was demand but no supply. 10 great desolate grade pills would cost at least 1 million Tianqin dollars. This was undoubtedly a huge burden for Bai Qing. Moreover, although Qi Shaoying didn't cause trouble for her on the surface, it was only a matter of time. He had lent the combat weapon to Bai Qing for the duel, but Bai Qing had lost it. There was no doubt that Bai Qing had to bear great responsibility for the loss of the Fire Beacon Twin Wheels. If 10 great desolate grade pills could solve the problem, then the loss of the Fire Beacon Twin Wheels was the most troublesome matter for Bai Qing. Even if she gave Qi Shaoying an identical combat weapon, she wouldn't be able to make up for his loss. Let's go. Bai Qing's face was gloomy and as cold as frost. The power of the ice divine text uncontrollably spread out from her body, causing the air around her to become extremely cold. There were even beads of ice condensing. She didn't say anything else and turned to leave. However, she hated Long Yu to the core. However, at the same time, she also admired Long Yu from the bottom of her heart. He was actually able to defeat Tai Sun, who had 3 divine ability realms, with his heavenly tribulation realm cultivation. Unfortunately, this kid was Bai Qing's enemy. Such a fellow, with boundless potential, must be eliminated. After Bai Qing left, Tian Xinghe also led everyone away. Although Tian Xinghe did not say a single word, he placed even more importance on Long Yu in his heart. He knew that he had to kill this person without a doubt. Otherwise, once Long Yu matured, Tian Xinghe would not let him off. However, Tian Xinghe was rather fortunate that he did not take out the Stardust World for Bai Qing to use as the capital for the bet. Speaking of which, if I had my Stardust World and Bai Qing had sent out 4 Divine Ability Realm Fellows, Long Yu wouldn't have been able to win, right? Tian Xinghe guessed in his heart. However, it was useless to think about this right now. What was even more strange was that the Valley Master had come and left, and Mo Zhaitian had lent Bai Qing a great desolate grade combat weapon. Now that Bai Qing had lost the great desolate grade combat weapon, Mo Zhaiqian still did not appear. Who knew what he was thinking? Tianxing's heart was extremely sharp. He felt that this matter was somewhat unusual. Without saying a word, he immediately left the martial arts field and disappeared from everyone's sight with his subordinates. Everyone had left the martial arts field. Everyone was still talking about what had happened on the martial arts field. Most people could tell that Long Yu had such great combat strength at the Heavenly Tribulation realm. It was because he had cultivated a powerful martial technique and possessed a powerful combat weapon. Moreover, he had comprehended the power of the divine rune that surpassed ordinary martial cultivators. However, Long Yu's combat strength was only a one-time eruption. After the eruption, he would be relatively weak. If a divine ability realm expert wanted to deal with Long Yu, as long as he grasped Long Yu's weakness, he would still be able to defeat him. Although Tai Sun's defense was very strong, he was not very agile. This caused him to be hit by all of Long Yu's attacks. That was why he could not resist. Brother Long, you won. You're really amazing. After the crowd left, Fenyu Xian quickly came to Long Yu's side. Her eyes flashed with admiration for Long Yu. Her tenderness seemed to melt Long Yu. Well, Yusin, you also need to cultivate and strive to become stronger. Only in this way can you protect everything that belongs to you. Long Yu nodded and said solemnly. Fenyu Xian had already entered the human glory realm. Her martial arts realm was not very strong on Heavenly Mandate Island, let alone in Shura County. Moreover, she was related to Long Yu, so it was dangerous for her to go to Shura County. Nothing would happen if he stayed at Shu Chan's place. However, if he went to Shura Valley, he would probably encounter a lot of trouble. To solve this problem, the only way was to cultivate hard and strive to step into a higher martial arts realm. This was the same for Long Yu. Even though Long Yu appeared to be in high spirits after killing 3 transcendent realm experts, Tai Sun, the truth was that Long Yu was still in the teeth of the storm. Threats were everywhere. Who knew when he would be assassinated? Also, Mo Zhaiqian's battle weapon. Long Yu, take it. I'll go ask my father what happened to the Scarlet Moon Valley's Valley Master. Everyone, please return to your posts. Shu Chan handed the charcoal-like Great Desolation Grade Warrior to Long Yu, then turned around and left. Fenyu Xian listened to Long Yu's words and watched Shu Chan leave. She made up her mind that she must become a powerful woman like the princess. Let's go. Call Xiao Qi's brothers. Let's go to my place and have a drink. Xing Wu patted Long Yu's shoulder and invited everyone to his place with a bright smile. Feng Haofeng, Man Xian, Qi Hua, and the others were extremely respectful toward Xing Wu, who was a 5 Paths Divinity Realm expert. They were overwhelmed by Xing Wu's words. Long Yu's friends did not mean they were their friends. After all, their levels were too far apart. But Xing Wu did not care about that. He invited them to have a drink because they were Long Yu's friends. Man Xian and the others were influenced by Xing Wu's carefree attitude. Haha, great. Man Zi, will go and bother Brother Xing. Thanks to Brother Long, Man Xian was the happiest. He had always loved to drink, and now that he could drink with an expert of the 5 Daos Divine Ability realm, it was undoubtedly an extremely good opportunity. He could casually discuss some matters related to cultivation, and it would benefit him greatly. Everyone gathered and went to the courtyard where Xing Wu lived. They waited for Shu Chan's news while drinking. Xing Wu was a wine lover. He had collected a lot of good wine in his courtyard. He was happy today, so he shared it all with everyone. Other than Long Yu's friends on Heavenly Mandate Island, Sahan's Han was also drinking with them. He was obviously on Shu Chan's side. When they started drinking, everyone realized that it was not Long Yu who got along with Xing Wu the most. It was Man Xian, who was just as hardy. Although Man Xian was only at the Celestial Being's secret realm, Xing Wu and Sahan's Han didn't care about it. They knew that as a martial practitioner who had just come from the floating island, it was normal for him to only be at the Celestial Being's secret realm. Compared to the floating island, the Shura region was not only rich in cultivation resources, but also had no effect on the Heavenly Tribulation. On the floating island, it is said that when the Heavenly Tribulation descends, it will be greatly affected. It will even be blocked by the 1,000 layers of heavenly stars. So on the floating island, there are very few people who can step into the celestial realm. They are all extremely powerful geniuses. While drinking, Sahanzhan continued, "Furthermore, I've heard a rumor that the entire Shenwu world has a total of 1,080,000 floating islands. These floating islands have banded together in order to suppress a powerful entity, but no one has been able to confirm this rumor. Most of the people present had never heard of this before, and it was a refreshing experience for them. So there were 1,080,000 floating islands, like Heavenly Mandate Island, in the entire Shenwu world. This was a shocking number. In the entire Shura region, there were only 100 or so floating islands, and this was already quite a lot. The neighboring Liang region and Guaxia region only had 70 to 80 floating islands, and some even had 50 to 60 floating islands. In the entire Tianqin dynasty, there were no more than 3,000 floating islands. This meant that the entire Shenwu world was at least 300 times the size of the Tianqin dynasty. Of course, what Sahanzhan knew about the floating islands was only a rumor. It couldn't be taken seriously. While everyone was drinking, Long Yu took out the black charcoal Great Desolate Level Soldier he got from Imo Zhaiqian and studied it under a lamp. Not long after, Long Yu realized that it was a saber, a demonic saber that was emitting demonic qi. As long as one poured Xian qi into the weapon, the charcoal weapon would form a blade made of Xian qi, and the body of the charcoal would become the handle of the saber. "It's a demonic saber," Long Yu exclaimed. Holding the demonic saber, he realized that if he poured 9 underworlds qi into it, he could form a 9 underworlds blade. Its power was more than 10 times stronger than if he poured Xian qi into it. Unfortunately, this demonic saber doesn't feel as powerful as the void nether dragon blade. Long Yu frowned slightly. Suddenly, he recalled that Man Xin used a saber. Not long after, there would be a chance to enter the sacred grounds of the Shura region. If he could get some kind of opportunity, then Man Xion's strength would increase by another level. This Great Desolate Level demonic saber seemed to be a perfect gift for Man Xion. Seeing that Man Xion was enjoying himself, Long Yu didn't bring it up immediately. He just kept it in mind and planned to talk to Man Xion when he had the chance. Chapter 561. They drank until late at night. Fengyu Xion, Lu Yuan, Feng Yao, and the other girls went back to rest first. Long Yu found Man Xion and Qihua in their room, took out the 2 weapons, and handed them to them. "Manzi, I'll give you this demon blade battle weapon. Qihua, I'll give you the fire beacon wheels. But remember, don't let it appear in front of others in the near future, lest Qi Shaoyin notices you," Long Yu said as he handed the weapon over. "Thank you, Brother Long." Qihua did not refuse. He took the fire beacon wheels and felt the strong aura of the desolate level weapon. He could not help but feel excited. A desolate level weapon was something that could not be obtained in the Heavenly Mandate continent. With such a battle weapon, if the Crimson Flame could fuse with it to a high level, his strength would at least double or even increase by a few times. Man Xion took the charcoal hilt and infused his Xian qi into the battle weapon. Immediately, a blade appeared, completely formed by his Xian qi, and its power was equivalent to his Xian qi. However, the hilt in Man Xion's hand was engraved with a special weapon refining matrix, which could produce a cycle of power. Not only did it not consume any energy to activate the blade, but it could also make the power of the blade far exceed the level of its own strength. With this weapon, Man Xion's combat strength would definitely increase by more than 2 times. If he could merge with it to a higher level, the power would be even more impressive. It should be known that Long Yu's Dragon Skeleton Ancient Tower was only a desolate level weapon, and every desolate level weapon was extremely powerful. You two keep these 2 weapons first. You can familiarize yourself with the power in them, and try to merge with them. As for the trip to the Azura Holy Land in 4 days, Princess Shu Chan will take us with her. You don't need to worry too much. Adjust yourselves and try to find your own opportunities in the Azura Holy Land. Long Yu said to the two solemnly. Don't worry, Brother Long. I won't let you down. Chi was said with a firm tone. Although I'm a beast cultivator, since I became a heaven grade fighter, there is no difference between beast cultivators and martial cultivators. Since I'm able to use it, I won't let it go to waste. Not bad. Man Xi nodded, but then he scratched the back of his head and asked in embarrassment. But Chihua's battle weapon is called Fire Beacon Twin Wheels. What's mine called? I don't know about that. Long Yu also felt a bit awkward. He looked at the sword in Man Xian's hand and thought, Mo Zaitian lent it to Bai Qing on purpose. Mo Zaitian should know his name, right? This saber is called the Tempest Magic Saber. Suddenly, a gloomy voice came from behind Long Yu, and then a figure in a black robe appeared not far away from the three of them. The figure came so fast that the three of them didn't even know how he got there. Man Xian and Chi Hua became nervous, but Long Yu laughed when he saw the figure. Brother Zaitian, you're really mysterious. I didn't expect you could sneak into the territory of the princess. It was Mo Zaitian. They didn't expect him to show up at this time. If the princess isn't here, you won't be able to find me even if you all work together. Mo Zaitian's voice continued. Then he chuckled. Although this Tempest Magic Saber is a great desolate grade fighter, it's not complete. I found it at the entrance of a hidden relic. If we can go deeper into the relic, we might be able to complete it. Hidden relic? Long Yu's interest was piqued when he heard this. One must know that a place like a relic would always produce a lot of things, not to mention a hidden relic that no one had discovered before. That's right, but it's only a small relic. It might be the tomb of a senior. Mo Zaitian nodded. Although Long Yu couldn't see his expression, he could tell that he wasn't interested. This magic saber is repelling the power of the divine text that I've comprehended, so I can't enter the hidden relic. However, this young man might be the fated one. The fated one that Mo Zaitian mentioned was naturally Man Xian. If that's the case, after the trip to the Azura Sacred Land, Brother Zaitian, you can bring my brother to the relic to check it out. Long Yu said with a smile. I won't be going, but I can tell you the location of the hidden relic. Remember, only one person can enter the relic. The Tempest Magic Saber is the key to open the relic. Mo Zaitian's voice was cold, but there was a hint of warmth in it. It was obvious that he didn't mean any harm to Long Yu, nor did he have any ill intentions towards Man Xian. Thank you, Brother Zaitian. Long Yu thanked Mo Zaitian. In the blink of an eye, Mo Zaitian had disappeared, leaving only a map of the true spirit, which marked the location of the hidden relic. It's in the northern part of the Shura County, in a continuous mountain range. Long Yu saw the location of the hidden relic as soon as he saw the map of the true spirit. He secretly memorized the content of the map of the true spirit. Brother Long, who is this Brother Zaitian you mentioned? Why does he appear and disappear so mysteriously? Man Xian couldn't help but feel confused when he saw Mo Zaitian appear and disappear immediately. His name is Mo Zaitian, the top genius of the young generation in the Shura County. I'm afraid that he will soon enter the secret realm of the King Path. Long Yu briefly introduced Mo Zaitian, which made Man Xian and Chihua open their eyes wide. The top genius of the young generation in the entire Shura County? That was a shocking identity. Man Xian thought about it casually. Back then, not to mention the top genius of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent, even the top genius of the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate continent would be extremely glorious and intimidating. Now, as the top genius of the entire Shura County, wouldn't he be even more famous? They didn't expect that Long Yu could make friends with such a powerful figure. Before this, Long Yu hadn't told Man Xian and the others about Mo Zaitian. Now that they suddenly saw him and learned about him, of course, they were extremely surprised. Late at night, everyone left. In Xing Wu's courtyard, only Long Yu and Duguijian stayed. Duguijian was going to guard Long Yu with Xing Wu in case he was assassinated. The two of them took turns to rest and make sure that Long Yu was safe. Under such circumstances, Long Yu was not in the mood to rest. He directly began to refine his muscles and bones with the chi of the 9 serenities in his room. Body-refining martial arts were also divided into different levels. The demon-subduing mighty body that Long Yu first cultivated was a middle-grade body-refining martial art of the mortal level. Now it seemed to be too weak, and there was no difference whether he cultivated it or not. Later, Long Yu comprehended it himself and used the power of the law of thunder to refine his body. He also used the cultivation method of the demon-subduing mighty body, which was almost a middle-grade body-refining martial art. It was quite powerful on the Heavenly Mandate continent, but in the Shura County, it was nothing. Now, Long Yu was using the cultivation method of the demon-subduing mighty body to refine his body with the power of the divine script of the 9 serenities. The divine script of the 9 serenities, which was the Yu character that Long Yu had thought of before, had the highest level of power in the entire Shenwu world. Body-refining martial arts, cultivated with it, was definitely above the desolate level. If the dominating body of the 9 serenities was achieved and stepped into the secret realm, Long Yu would only need to rely on his body to resist Tai Sun's giant spirit iron arm. Body-tempering martial techniques use different types of energy to temper one's physical body, allowing one's physical body to possess different attributes. If I temper my physical body with the energy of the 9th held divine rune, even though it's powerful, such a physical body won't have the strongest resistance. Perhaps I can fuse some of the energy of the siphon divine rune into it? Long Yu frowned slightly and thought to himself. He did not consider the danger of doing so at all. In fact, the method he was using now was only the method of the middle-grade body-refining martial arts. If he used the power of the divine script of the 9 serenities to refine his body, the effect might be very different. Moreover, the integration of the divine script was not a joke. If he used only one power to refine the body, he only needed to bear the physical pain. But if he wanted to integrate the 2 powers and refine the body, it would also be a great test for the spirit of the martial cultivator. Of course, Long Yu knew the danger, but he did not flinch because he knew very well that if he successfully used the divine script of the 9 serenities and the siphon divine script to refine his body, the body would definitely be stronger than the body refined by the divine script of the 9 serenities alone. If I add the siphon divine script, my body's resistance to attacks will at least double. Long Yu's heart was filled with determination. He urged the power of the rainbow siphon divine script, which he had comprehended 30%, and poured it into the meridians that had been refined by the divine script of the 9 serenities. The 2 powers of the siphon divine script and the divine script of the 9 serenities immediately began to wreak havoc in Long Yu's body, plunging him into endless pain from the beginning. This little bit of pain can't knock me down. Long Yu gritted his teeth, feeling the bursts of pain coming from the meridians all over his body. He was completely immersed in the double pain of his body and spirit. The demon vanquishing tyrant body's order of refining the body was to first refine the meridians, then refine the muscles and bones, then the skin and flesh, dantian, 5 internal organs, and blood vessels. When the blood vessels were all refined, the tyrant body could be considered to have reached the great accomplishment stage. Now, Long Yu was referring to the same order. Although the power used was different, the principle of refining the body was the same. The divine script of the 9 serenities and the siphon divine script fused together and began to refine Long Yu's meridians, consolidating the 9 serenities tyrant body that he had cultivated. As time passed, the siphon divine script was completely refined into his meridians, fusing with the divine script of the 9 serenities. The power of the 2 divine scripts tempered Long Yu's meridians to the extreme. Not only that, but because of the nature of the power of the siphon divine script, Long Yu's meridians could absorb a great deal of other powers that attacked his body and transform them into his own power. Chapter 562. There might be a better way to refine one's body, but the method Long Yu was using now was the most basic method, so it was unlikely that there would be any accidents. 3 to 4 days passed. Long Yu endured intense pain for 3 to 4 days before he finally finished refining his muscles and bones using the 9 Serenities divine script and the Siphon divine script. The second level of a 9 Serenities tyrant body was finally completed. Now, Long Yu's physical resistance was at least twice as strong as before. He wanted to continue cultivating, but it was a pity that today was the day everyone would enter the Shura province's sacred ground. So it was impossible for Long Yu to miss it. There were more than 100 people entering the Shura province's sacred ground, and everyone had a chance of finding their own fortune. It was said that even a great desolate level martial skill could appear in the Shura province's sacred ground. What Long Yu hoped for the most was not a battle weapon or a martial skill, but some other kind of treasure, such as the essence of God's descendant that could increase Long Yu's compatibility with the divine script. However, even in the Shura province's sacred ground, such items were rare. Of course, even Shu Chan did not know what was in the sacred ground, so she could only wait for the others to enter and find out for themselves. When the sun rose, Long Yu left his room and gathered at the martial field with Xing Wu and Duguijin. Shu Chan was already waiting there, and when she saw the three of them, she smiled and waved her hand. A few days ago, Shu Chan had purposely asked the Shura Prefecture King why the Valley Master of the Red Moon Prefecture King had come and left without a trace of his previous arrogance. However, the Shura Prefecture King did not say anything, and only said that Long Yu's identity was special, so the Valley Master did not dare to do anything to him. As for what was special about Long Yu's identity, Shu Chan did not know, and Long Yu and the others naturally could not guess, so they could only give up. Man Xian, Chi Hua, and Lu Yuan also possessed the qualifications to enter the Holy Land of Azura County. At this moment, they had gathered at the martial practice field from their courtyards. Other than that, there was also Jia Banxian, who was qualified to enter the Holy Azura Land. As for Xiao Zhu, Ren Pingfan, and Xuan, the three of them were quite pitiful. They were ranked around 100 or 200 in the Azura selection. If they were just a little bit stronger, they would be able to enter the Holy Azura Land. There are a total of 8 of us. We're all here. Let's go. Shu Chan looked around and glanced at the crowd. Then, she waved her hand and flew to the front. Long Yu, Shu Chan, Xing Wu, Duguijin, Banxian Jia, Man Xian, Chi Hua, and Lu Yuan, a total of 8 people were heading to the Holy Land of Azura County. They were all looking forward to the opportunities they might encounter in the Holy Land. Although Man Xian, Chi Hua, and Lu Yuan's cultivation realm was relatively low, even Xing Wu and Banxian Jia were a little envious of them. Because of Long Yu, the 3 of them had great desolate-level combat weapons. In the future, their battle strength would definitely be extremely powerful, especially Man Xian. The stormy demonic saber in his hand seemed to be able to bring him to a hidden ruin. If he had another opportunity, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. When the crowd arrived at the Grand Square of Azura Valley, they realized that most of the top 100 in the Azura selection were already gathered there. No one would want to miss such a rare opportunity gathering. Among the crowd, there were many familiar faces. Long Yu casually glanced around and saw Tian Xinghe and Gue Yin. When Shu Chan and the others arrived, the 2 of them cast a gloomy gaze at Long Yu. Originally, many of Tian Xinghe's subordinates were very strong, such as Li Peio's, Yusun Luo, Guisha, etc. However, these people died at the hands of Long Yu in the Azura selection. Among them, Yusun Luo was killed by Duguijin. As a result, only Tian Xinghe and Gue Yin managed to enter the top 100 in this aspect. Bai Qing's side was even worse. Apart from Bai Qing, who was ranked 63rd, none of her subordinates managed to enter the top 100. One had to know that the entire Azura Prefecture was vast, and there were many talented people everywhere. They weren't the only ones with tyrannical strength. In the past 7 days, the top 100 martial cultivators of the Azura selection had arrived at Azura Valley from various places. Yu Qingsha, Sahan's Han, Qi Xiaoyin, and Mo Zhaiyin, they are all here. Long Yu swept his gaze across the square again and saw many familiar faces. Seeing that they were all resting with their eyes closed, as if they were waiting for something, he knew that this trip to the Azura sacred land wouldn't be as simple as it seemed. Apart from them, there were also martial cultivators standing in 2s and 3s on the square. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, as they had come from outside Azura Valley. These people were all young experts from all over the Azura Prefecture. Among them, there were many whose martial Dao potential didn't lose out to Bai Qing, Tian Xinghe, and the others. In particular, there were many sects within the Azura Prefecture. Many of them had the qualifications to enter the Azura sacred land. When Long Yu appeared, almost everyone in the square focused their attention on him. Even the young geniuses who had just arrived at Azura Valley had heard about how Long Yu had defeated Tai Sun, who had 3 transcendent realms, in a bet with his heavenly tribulation realm cultivation base. This kind of feat was enough to make him the center of attention. Many people in the square began to whisper among themselves, but Long Yu didn't care. No matter what others said, it wouldn't affect Long Yu's martial Dao heart. After waiting for a while, a black cloud rolled over from the nearby sky. A figure with an imposing aura could be faintly seen. It was the Azura Prefecture Duke himself. If one wanted to go to the Azura Prefecture sacred land, the Azura Prefecture Duke had to personally appear. The Azura Prefecture sacred land was the reason he was able to become the Azura Prefecture Duke. Others like the Scarlet Moon Valley Master might not be much weaker than the Azura Prefecture Duke in terms of strength, but the Azura Prefecture Duke controlled the Azura Prefecture sacred land. It was the core of the entire Azura Prefecture. Most of the experts in the Azura Prefecture would make a trip to the Azura Prefecture sacred land in order to become stronger. The Azura Prefecture Duke arrived above the square. A black cloud shrouded him, making it difficult for others to see his figure. Just as he was about to speak, a strange laughter came from the square. "Lord Duke, why can any random person participate in this trip to the Azura Prefecture sacred land? Look at those fellows over there. They haven't even reached the Transcendent Realm, yet they are qualified to go to the Azura Prefecture sacred land?" As soon as this voice came out, everyone in the square immediately focused their attention on the speaker. They saw a thin young man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks among the group of people from Ice Heaven Valley. As the thin young man spoke, he occasionally glanced in the direction of Long Yu. It was obvious that he was talking about Long Yu, Man Xin, and the others. Long Yu naturally could not ignore such an arrogant provocation. However, it was also impossible for him to start a fight with the other party at this moment. He simply said in an indifferent tone, "If you are not satisfied, how about we have a fight? If you win, my friend and I won't participate in this trip. But if you lose, what do you think we should do?" As soon as these words came out, the thin young man chuckled. "Do you think everyone is as useless as Tai Sun? If you want to fight, sure, but unfortunately, this lowly one does not dare to waste the Azura Prefecture Duke's time." This thin young man, like Tai Sun, was a powerhouse with 3 transcendent realms. Based on the fact that he was able to enter the top 100 of the Azura selection, his strength was definitely much stronger than Tai Sun's. However, Long Yu was not afraid at all. When he saw the other party's arrogance, he mocked once more. "If you don't dare to fight, then just say so. There's no need to use the Prefecture Duke as a shield." All right. The Azura Prefecture Duke instantly felt a headache when he saw the people below quarreling. With a casual sentence, the thin young man did not dare to say anything else. Of course, Long Yu did not say anything else. He only glanced at the thin young man and found that the other party was looking at him provocatively and threateningly. By tongue, Long Yu focused his gaze on the person beside the thin young man. That person was the young master of Ice Heaven Valley, Bai Tung. In the dreamscape, Bai Tung had been killed by Long Yu. No wonder the thin young man was so against Long Yu. It turned out that he was Bai Tung's lackey. No wonder. Seeing Bai Tung's appearance, Lu Yuan stood quietly beside Long Yu. Her expression did not change. She only thought in her heart, "It seems that when I come out of the Azura sacred land, I can return the reward of the Azura selection to buy tongue and repay the favor. Everyone here is the geniuses and pillars of Azura County. In a few decades, Azura County will be your world. Therefore, if you have any conflicts, try to restrain yourselves. There's no need to fight to the death, right? The Azura Prefecture Duke said calmly. He had always been very clear about the recent events, especially regarding Longyu. He did not feel much pity for Taisun being killed by Longyu. However, if anything happened to Longyu, it would be a great loss to the entire Azura County. Therefore, the Azura Prefecture Duke made his stance clear. On the surface, his tone was very indifferent, but in reality, he was tactfully reminding everyone that even if there was a conflict, no one should die. Quite a few people were able to understand the meaning behind the Azura Duke's words. Of course, this included Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe. It had to be known that they were disciples of the Azura Duke, so how could they not understand the meaning behind his words? Now, everyone come with me. As soon as the Azura Prefecture Duke's voice fell, the black cloud beside him suddenly spread out and extended towards the plaza. In an instant, it enveloped everyone within it. Then, the Azura Prefecture Duke raised his hands and gathered over 100 people with a black cloud. They rose into the sky and flew towards a certain direction outside of Azura Valley. Azura Sacred Land is located in the sky near Azura Valley. It is a temple in the sky and has been passed down from generation to generation by the Azura Prefecture Duke. As long as you step into the Azura Sacred Land, you will definitely reap some benefits. However, what kind of benefits you reap will depend entirely on you. The Sacred Land's temple opens once every 20 years. Only 100 people can enter each time. Therefore, we will use the Azura selection to select the 100 of you. Everyone, make good use of this opportunity. As the Azura Prefecture Duke's voice fell, the black cloud that he had summoned soared high into the sky. The surroundings were filled with dense clouds, and it looked like a fairyland. Chapter 563. The magnificent palace that appeared before everyone's eyes was pitch black in color, and the walls were built with black bricks and stones, giving off a deep and eerie feeling at first glance. This is the Azura Ancient Palace, the holy land of our Shura County. Generations of Shura County geniuses have come here and obtained great opportunities. The Azura Duke, who is faintly discernible in the black clouds, said lightly. With a wave of his hand, he brought everyone to the front of the Azura Ancient Palace. He brought over 100 people to the platform at the entrance of the Ancient Palace and walked toward the entrance. Long Yu and the others also stood on the platform at the entrance. They glanced around and saw that the entire ancient hall was suspended in the air. It was even higher than the Heavenly Mandate Island and the other floating islands. If it wasn't for the Azura Duke, it would have taken them more than half a day to get here. I don't know why, but this palace gives me an ominous feeling. This is the holy land of Shura County. There are countless opportunities and treasures here. Why do I have an ominous feeling? I don't feel good either. Is it because the divine text I comprehended isn't of the shadow attribute? It seems like that is the reason. If you don't comprehend the divine text of the shadow attribute, the Azura Ancient Palace seems to reject you. Everyone discussed, and soon discovered that the Ancient Palace gave everyone a different feeling. Princess, how do you feel? Jia Banxian asked with a frown. I feel very good. It's as if there is something important waiting for me inside. What does everyone think? Shu Chan said as she raised her head and looked at Long Yu first. I feel good too. Long Yu nodded and said, it's probably because I'm more compatible with the divine text of the shadow attribute. I don't feel good. Jia Banxian looked like he was about to cry. I comprehended the divine text of light. Will I be kicked out of the ancient palace? That shouldn't be the case. Everyone who enters the Azura Ancient Palace will obtain their own opportunities. The only difference is what kind of opportunity it is. Shu Chan comforted him, then looked at Man Exant, Chi Hua, and Lu Yuan, who were standing beside Long Yu. If the Azura Ancient Palace gave off a feeling that it was based on the attributes of the divine runes comprehended by the crowd, then it was hard to say for Man Exant, Chi Hua, and Lu Yuan, because the three of them had yet to comprehend the power of the divine runes. I feel good, Man Xin said with a hearty laugh. I feel like this ancient palace is rejecting me. Chihua said with a frown. I'm fine. I don't feel anything special. Lu Yuan continued. Is it based on your physique? Chihua has a flaming nine-tailed true spirit, so he's definitely more compatible with the power of fire attribute divine characters. If that's the case, could it be that this Azura ancient palace is filled with the power of shadow attribute divine characters? That's why we have such a different feeling. Half Immortal Jia said with certainty. It's very possible that martial cultivators who are compatible with the shadow attribute divine runes will be able to obtain good opportunities if they enter. As for people like me, it's very likely that I'll be sent away with some random items. No matter what, let's go in first. I don't know what will happen after we enter, so everyone should be careful. Long Yu said in a low voice. In the next moment, the Azura Duke's silhouette that was hidden in the dark clouds had already arrived at the entrance of the Azura ancient palace. The moment he lifted his hand, a burst of Azura divine rune energy shot out and poured into one of the grooves on the Azura ancient palace's stone door. There were a total of 101 grooves like this on the stone door. It was as if they had been specially prepared for each of them. All of you come over here. Pour the strongest energy that you have comprehended into these grooves. The Azura Duke ordered. Then he said, don't try to act smart. Don't think that our holy land only benefits those who are compatible with the shadow attribute divine runes. No matter what energy you pour into these grooves, you will obtain the opportunity you deserve in the end. Following the Azura Duke's words, many of the young geniuses who were closer to the front became restless. One by one, they sprinted towards the entrance of the stone door. They wanted to pour the power they had comprehended into the groove on the stone door as quickly as possible. Everyone knew that this segment would most likely affect who would be able to enter the Azura Ancient Palace. Moreover, it would definitely be closely related to what kind of opportunity they would obtain after entering. However, just as they were about to reach the stone door of the Azura Ancient Palace, a majestic ancient sword suddenly fell from the sky. With a loud bang, it landed in front of these young geniuses, knocking them back. Each of them was sent flying dozens of feet away, spitting out mouthfuls of blood. Who is it? This scene caused the Azura Duke's expression to change. Behind him, Long Yu and the others, who were about to rush forward, all stopped in their tracks and raised their heads. With a single glance, they saw another group of people. All of them wore golden robes, and there were more than 50 of them. Their faces were filled with boundless arrogance as they landed at the entrance of the Azura Ancient Palace. It's the people from the Tianqin dynasty. Shu Chan immediately whispered, her eyes filled with vigilance. The people from the Tianqin dynasty. The faces of Long Yu and the others beside Shu Chan changed. They didn't think that the people from the Tianqin dynasty would suddenly come here, to the holy land of the Azura County. The Azura County was part of the Tianqin dynasty's territory. However, the people of the Tianqin dynasty usually didn't meddle in the affairs of the various counties. Why did they send so many people to the Azura Ancient Palace today? And from the looks of it, they were all from a younger generation? What business do you all have here? The Azura Duke, of course, was in charge of the situation at this time. He stopped opening the Azura Ancient Palace and calmly looked at the group of 50 people in the sky. You are the Azura Duke. Among the group of 50 people, the leader wore a golden robe and had the most arrogant expression. He looked like a teenager, but he already had the cultivation of the imperial mystic realm. I heard that once every 20 years, the Azura County will open the holy land of the Azura Ancient Palace, allowing the younger generation of the county to obtain many opportunities. Today, this prince has personally come to the Azura Ancient Palace to announce that the quota of 100 people to enter the Azura Ancient Palace will be halved. This prince will take all of the 50 vacancies. The young man in the golden robe had an arrogant expression. Even when he looked at the Azura Duke, his eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. It was obvious that he didn't put the Azura Duke in his eyes. Moreover, from his tone, it was clear that he wasn't negotiating with the Azura Duke, but ordering him. The moment the young man in the golden robe said this, Long Yu and the others felt a chill in their hearts. This young man called himself this prince. Just who was he? How could he be so arrogant and directly demand 50 spots to enter the Azura ancient palace? The people of the Tianqing dynasty were indeed powerful, but the person in front of them was the Azura Duke, the king of this county. Even if he was from the Tianqing dynasty, he couldn't completely disregard the Azura Duke, right? So it's your Royal Highness, the sixth prince. The Azura Duke obviously recognized the young man's identity. He smiled faintly and said, Your Royal Highness, the sixth prince has such a precious body. It is my honor to have you visit my Azura county. However, the Azura ancient palace is the holy land of the Azura county. Isn't it a little inappropriate for your Royal Highness to muster such a large force to fight for a spot? Enough nonsense. Azura Duke, if you dare to resist, do you believe that this prince will inform my imperial father and have the entire Azura county seized? The young man in the golden robe still had a disdainful look in his eyes. He didn't take the Azura Duke's words to heart. It's not that I want to resist, but this Azura ancient palace can only accommodate people of my Azura county. The Azura Duke heard this and immediately chuckled. Even though your Royal Highness is of noble status, this Azura ancient palace isn't a place you should come to. Impudent. Behind the young man in the golden robe, another young lady in the golden robe immediately rebuked. She pointed at the Azura Duke and said, A mere duke dares to act so arrogantly in front of a prince? Where is your sense of propriety? All right, Gold Charm. This Azura Duke can't see the situation clearly. It's not his fault. However, today I will definitely take the 50 spots in the Azura ancient palace. The young man in the golden robe was the sixth prince of the Tianqing dynasty. He looked at the Azura Duke with disdain and said, Azura Duke, this prince will fight with you. If you lose, you will naturally hand over the 50 spots. How about it? There's no point in fighting this battle. The Azura Duke waved his sleeves and said, Since your Royal Highness sixth prince wishes to enter our Azura ancient palace so much, then enter. However, this Duke will make it clear in advance that everything that happens after entering the ancient palace has nothing to do with this Duke, and it has nothing to do with the Azura county. If anything happens to you, don't let Tianqing Emperor blame you. Do you dare? Why not? The sixth prince sneered and said, You're just a mere Azura Duke. Do you really think that this prince is relying on my dead old man? What a joke. One day, this prince will surpass my dead old man and become the true emperor of the Tianqing dynasty. As soon as he finished speaking, he flicked his sleeves and said to the 50 people behind him without turning his head, Everyone, get ready. The Azura ancient palace is here. Whatever opportunities you find inside will depend on your own abilities. He understood. Your Royal Highness, I heard that there are many good things in the Azura ancient palace. This time, I will definitely take everything I can. What good things can there be in this remote and desolate place? I'm afraid we won't even be able to find a great desolate level warrior. It's already good enough to earn some pocket money. If we meet some beautiful girls in the Azura county, can we take them away? I heard that the Azura Duke has a pretty daughter. She should be here today, right? Isn't that right? She's really pretty. Look at that little mouth. It's really seductive. Who's that beside the young princess? She's quite pretty too. It's not bad to play with her once. The people behind the young sixth prince discussed animatedly and laughed loudly. They didn't seem to care that the Azura county marshal cultivators heard them. As for Shu Chan, Long Yu, and the others, when they heard the blatant talk of these people, they were naturally enraged. However, even the Azura Duke couldn't do anything to these people. What could Long Yu and the others do? Chapter 564. The Azura Duke glanced at the 50 people that the golden-robed sixth prince brought with him. His eyes flashed with a cold light that no one could see. It was obvious that he also wanted to kill these people. Unfortunately, he couldn't do that right now. Just the golden-robed sixth prince alone was not someone he could deal with alone. Moreover, the sixth prince had openly appeared here to fight for the 50 spots to enter the ancient Azura Palace. It was obvious that he had come prepared. It was impossible that this was an impromptu decision. Simply put, the Azura Duke suspected that the Tianqing dynasty would take action against Shura County. Under such circumstances, the Azura Duke naturally couldn't shed all pretense of cordiality with the sixth prince. He had to act in secret and make arrangements. All right, since I've given you 50 spots, then prepare to enter the ancient Azura Palace. After saying that, the Azura Duke turned around and shouted at Long Yu and the others. All of you, listen up. Those who are ranked in the top 50 of the Azura selection, follow this Duke. We will open the Azura Ancient Palace and enter. As for those who are ranked in the bottom 50, all of you stay where you are and do not move. Everyone, don't worry. I will definitely give you an explanation and compensation. Once these words were spoken, the crowd was in an uproar. Just to give up 50 spots to the Tianqing dynasty's sixth prince, the Azura Duke actually wanted the bottom 50 people to not be allowed to enter the Holy Azura land? The Azura Duke was too weak. This was Shura County's territory. According to the rules, even the Tianqing dynasty had no right to interfere with the matters here. It was even more impossible for him to openly come here and demand a spot. However, some people thought that there must be a reason for this abnormality. Normally, the sixth prince wouldn't come here, but he just had to come now. It was obvious that he wanted to bully Shura County. Moreover, the Azura Duke didn't dare to say anything. Could it be that the Azura Duke knew more inside information? In reality, the Azura Duke didn't know anything. However, he had lived longer than anyone else here. Naturally, he could see things more clearly than anyone else. If this golden-robed sixth prince didn't have any confidence, how could he come to Shura County alone in the Imperial Path Mystic Realm and behave so atrociously? Although the Azura Duke did not dare to do anything to the sixth prince, he could completely disobey him and chase him away. Even if Emperor Tianqing personally came, he would not be able to say anything. No matter how strong the sixth prince was, the Azura Duke and Yinjing would definitely be able to suppress him. However, he did not send Yinjing over. At least you're sensible. After listening to the arrangements of the Azura Prefecture King, the golden-robed young man, the sixth prince, nodded in satisfaction. He then waved his hand and said, "Brothers, hurry up and get ready to enter the holy land of the Azura Prefecture." Immediately, the young sixth prince led a total of more than 50 people and landed in front of the ancient Azura Palace's stone entrance. "Let's go." Seeing this, Shuchan waved her hand and led Long Yu and the others towards the ancient Azura Palace's stone door. "Princess, what should we do?" Jia Banxian was a little hesitant because he and Xingwu were both ranked in the 80s. Now, according to the Azura Duke's words, the right to enter the ancient Azura Palace had been taken away by the sixth prince's men. The sudden appearance of the sixth prince's men was something that no one had expected, especially the martial cultivators ranked below the 50s who had been stripped of their right to enter the ancient Azura Palace. Their faces were incomparably gloomy. "All of you, stay here and listen to my father's orders," Shuchan said calmly and solemnly. "All of you, listen carefully. Although you won't have the chance to enter the ancient Azura Palace, today's events may affect the fate of the entire Azura Prefecture. If anything happens, take good care of little Fatty, Xiao Zhu, and Xuan. You must ensure everyone's safety. Understood?" Originally, Jia Banxian was a little reluctant, but after hearing Shu Chan's words, he immediately understood. That's right, the sixth prince had unexpectedly come here to bully them. There was definitely something fishy about this. "Rest assured, princess, I understand." Xingwu was the first to speak calmly. "As for Little Seven's friends, I will do my best to take care of them." Little Seven's friends were, of course, the friends that Long Yu brought with him from Heavenly Mandate Island, such as Yin Huan, Imo Fu, Yiluan, Feng Yao, Feng Haofeng, Feng Fingyuexan, and Shi Yingwu. Thank you, big brother Xing. Long Yu heard this and said in a low voice. Of course, he knew that the sixth prince of the Tianqing dynasty coming here was not normal. Perhaps the entire Azura prefecture would experience a great change. Under such circumstances, if Long Yu entered the ancient Azura palace, he might be fine, but the others would be in danger. Especially Feng Haofeng, Feng Fengyu Xin, and the others who were still in the heavenly realm. Without the protection of the Azura prefecture, it was impossible to predict what would happen to them. Under such circumstances, with Xingwu looking after them, Long Yu felt much more at ease. As expected, things are not good. After Xu Chan, Long Yu, and the others left, Ban Xianjia's expression suddenly changed. I'm afraid something big is about to happen to our Azura prefecture. Xingwu's heart skipped a beat. What's going on? What's the result of your prediction? Just now, Jia Banxian had used the light divine text that he had comprehended to predict his own fate, but the result of the prediction was darkness. Generally speaking, the result of predicting darkness was either that he would die or that he could not predict it. But generally speaking, this was definitely an ominous prediction. It was certain that Ban Xianjia was about to encounter danger. In Azura Prefecture, with the protection of the Azura Prefecture King, how could he encounter any danger? The only possibility was that even the Azura Prefecture King would be in danger. Ban Xianjia's prediction caused Xingwu's face to darken. He glanced at the many martial cultivators who were unhappy about losing the right to enter the ancient Azura Palace and snorted coldly. What are you all doing? Right now, our Azura Prefecture is facing a great calamity. What's the point of venting your dissatisfaction with the Lord Azura Prefecture King? Xingwu shouted. He swept his eyes over the crowd and said, If you have the guts, stand still. Don't panic. The Lord Azura Prefecture King has already said that he has his own arrangements. He will not disappoint you all. Xingwu's words caused the crowd to quieten down a little. However, a strange atmosphere quickly spread among the crowd. The fact was that even the Azura Prefecture King had compromised. Could it be that something big was about to happen? In the crowd, Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe also stepped forward to speak up. After all, the two of them were also stripped of the right to enter the Azura Holy Land. Moreover, they were the Azura Prefecture King's disciples. When the two of them stepped forward to speak up, the crowd finally felt some comfort in their hearts. Even Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe had been stripped of their qualifications. What else could they say? They believed that the Lord Azura Prefecture King would give them a satisfactory answer. Let's begin. Everyone, pour your strongest energy into these grooves. At the entrance of the ancient Azura Palace, the Azura Prefecture King merged the shadow divine characters he had comprehended into the 101 grooves on the stone door. Following that, Xu Chan, Long Yu, Sahans Han, Dugui Jian, Man Exen, Qihua, and Lu Yuan all poured the strongest energy they had comprehended into the grooves on the stone door. Apart from them, the sixth prince of the Tianqing dynasty, the golden robe servant girl, the golden charm, and a total of 50 other people also poured their energy into the grooves on the stone door. When the 101 types of energy mixed together in the grooves, the stone door of the ancient Azura Palace finally emitted a heavy sound. Slowly, the power of the space divine characters shot out from the stone door and enveloped the heads of the 100 martial cultivators. Following that, Long Yu felt the space divine characters completely wrap around him. After a moment of dizziness, he disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had been sent into an independent space. Everyone who had been standing beside him had disappeared without a trace. He had no idea what was going on. When he felt his feet touching the ground again, he raised his head and saw that he had arrived in a pitch-black palace. The palace was square and had a length and width of more than 20 zhang. He was the only person in the entire space. Inside the palace, there were all kinds of treasures, including combat weapons, elixirs, and so on. There were even many bookshelves with books on them. There were probably records of all kinds of martial skills and divine abilities. It's that simple. Long Yu was shocked by the scene in front of him. He had thought that after entering the ancient Azura Palace, he would encounter many difficulties and even have to compete with the others for the treasures inside. He didn't expect that he would be sent into this palace alone. Moreover, it seemed like he could pick anything he wanted without hesitation. Long Yu walked to the corner where the porcelain bottles of elixirs were placed. Currently, Long Yu didn't lack combat weapons or martial skills. Even if there were great desolate-level martial skills here, Long Yu didn't have the time to cultivate them. In that case, what Long Yu wanted the most were elixirs. If he could obtain enough elixirs, he might be able to start cultivating innate divine abilities in this ancient palace. Of course, he had just broken through to the heavenly tribulation realm not too long ago. It wouldn't be easy for him to cultivate innate divine abilities. However, if he had enough elixirs, he could still give it a try. However, just as he took a step forward, he suddenly saw a hazy gray figure appear in front of him. From this gray figure, Long Yu felt a hostile and dangerous aura. Although I don't know what's going on outside since I'm here in the ancient Azura Palace, there's no way I won't be defeated by some random thing. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. He held the nether dragon blade and stabbed at the hazy gray figure in front of him. Chapter 565. In the sealed Palace of Darkness, Long Yu held the nether void dragon blade in his hand and flew through the air like a black ray of light. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the gray figure. However, just as he was about to continue forward, a translucent black barrier appeared in front of him and completely blocked the nether void dragon blade. Stop! The gray figure actually spoke, and his voice was rather heavy. I'm your guide. Do not attack me rudely. Guide? Long Yu frowned and took 2 steps back. He thought about it carefully. The gray figure in front of him really wasn't anyone he had seen outside. Whether it was the 100 people from Shura County or the 50 people brought by the Tianqin Dynasty's 6th prince, Long Yu had never seen this person before. Could it be that this person had always existed in the ancient Azura Palace? You have some questions in your heart, but let me answer them. The gray figure floated in the air and stood motionlessly. It was obvious that this was not the physical body of a martial cultivator. It was most likely a spiritual illusion or a doppelganger. I am the first Azura Duke, and also the great-grandfather of the current Azura Duke. Of course, what appears in front of you now is only an illusion formed by the will I left behind after I died. This sentence caused Long Yu to be completely shocked. This fellow was actually the first Azura Prefecture King. Even the current Azura Duke had to call him great-grandfather. It was clear that he was very powerful when he was alive. It was a pity that he was dead now. It turned out that the ancient Azura Palace contained a remnant will of the previous Azura Duke. No wonder it was called the Holy Land of Shura County. So, it is Senior Azura Duke. This junior has been disrespectful. As Long Yu spoke, he put away the nether void dragon blade. However, he still did not let down his guard. Who knew if this person was played by some sinister person who wanted to take Long Yu's life? Of course, Long Yu could not feel any energy fluctuations from this person's body. He could not tell what realm this person belonged to. Although this person could completely block his nether void dragon blade, that should be the power of the entire ancient Azura Palace. From this point of view, the possibility of this fellow plotting against him, Long Yu, was extremely small. If it was any other time, I would be willing to chat more with a genius of the younger generation like you. After all, I've walked many crooked paths, and I can give you some guidance so that you can advance faster on the path of the martial Tao. But now, I can only make it short. The hazy gray-clothed figure was the first Azura County king. His voice was extremely grave as he said, simply put, the Azura County is about to experience a great change. You young juniors are the last hope of our Azura County. Something big happened? Long Yu's expression changed slightly. Could it be because of the Tianqin dynasty? Not bad. You are very smart. I am very pleased. The gray-clothed figure nodded in satisfaction. Then he said, due to the many years of conflict of interests, our Azura County and the neighboring Ghost Evil County have a deep grudge. Last time, the Ghost Evil County King was injured by my grandfather and grandson, and this matter was not small. The Tianqing dynasty advocated to punish the Azura County as a warning to others. After all, it is not good for the Tianqing dynasty to injure the other county king too many times. Just because of this, the Tianqing dynasty is going to attack the Azura County? Long Yu raised his eyebrows. Of course, it's not just that. This is just the fuse. Even without this matter, the Tianqing dynasty would have set their eyes on the Azura County sooner or later and destroyed it. The gray-clothed figure turned around and raised his hand, conjuring a map in the dark hall. He pointed at the map and said, "Look, the Azura County is located in a very rich area in the entire Tianqing dynasty, especially the Nightmare Mountains. The resources produced there are extremely rich. Although the Azura County has to hand over a large portion of its resources to the Tianqing dynasty every year, the people of the Tianqing dynasty will never be satisfied." Long Yu raised his head and looked at the map. Indeed, he found that there were 3 large resource-producing areas in the Azura County marked on the map. The Nightmare Mountains were the largest of them. In the world of martial arts, cultivation resources were the most important thing. Why was there such a huge difference in the growth rate of the martial arts practitioners of Heavenly Mandate Island and Azura County? This was because of resources. With enough cultivation resources, they could nurture powerful geniuses of the younger generation and enrich the strength of the entire force. However, if there were insufficient cultivation resources, even if geniuses were born, their cultivation speed would not be comparable to ordinary martial arts practitioners with abundant resources. Now, the Tianqing dynasty is finally making a move on the Azura County. Their biggest obstacle is the Azura ancient palace we are in. That is why they sent the 6th prince to investigate the situation. When he spoke up to this point, the gray-clothed figure sneered. Unfortunately, since this kid has come in, then he can forget about leaving. This time, the 6th prince and the numerous geniuses he brought will definitely be buried here. When Long Yu heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He thought to himself that the Azura County Holy Land really did have the will of the ancestors of the Azura County. If that was the case, then the 6th prince and the others would definitely not be able to gain anything from entering. But wouldn't this completely offend the Tianqing dynasty? Long Yu said, "With the 6th prince's death, I'm afraid the people of the Tianqing dynasty will be flustered and exasperated. They will deal with the others in the Azura County even more viciously." "Who said we want a 6th prince to die now?" The gray-clothed figure smiled faintly. "We'll first trap him for a few months to negotiate with the people of the Tianqing dynasty. During this period of time, we can use it to deal with the people of the Tianqing dynasty. As long as the 6th prince doesn't come out, the people of the Tianqing dynasty will not dare to kill him. Moreover, the people of the Tianqing dynasty really want this Azura ancient palace. It took me a lot of effort to get this ancient palace from the ruins of an ancestor. It could be considered as a battle weapon that has surpassed the Great Desolation grade. They sent the 6th prince here because they want to occupy this ancient Azura palace. Unfortunately, they are too naive." The words of the gray-clothed figure slightly shocked Long Yu. It was actually a war weapon that surpassed the Desolate grade. It seemed that this Azura ancient palace was not ordinary. It might even be stronger than the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. Now, you should cultivate here and strive to break through to the secret realm. The gray-clothed figure sighed and said, "You, that little girl Shu Chan, and that Emo Jaiqian, the 3 of you are the most talented and have good characters. In the future, the Shura Prefecture will have to rely on you to rise again." "Rise again? Is the Shura Prefecture going to be destroyed this time?" Long Yu asked with a frown. "That's right. If the Tianqing dynasty wants to attack the Shura Prefecture, how can a Shura Prefecture survive?" The gray-clothed figure nodded and said, "The only difference is that we can rely on the 6th prince to deal with them for a period of time. When my grandson and I finish making arrangements for the Shura Prefecture, it will be time for the Azura Ancient Palace to leave the Tianqing dynasty. Leave? To where? Long Yu asked. I won't tell you for now. Your task is to cultivate properly and comprehend the innate theurgy. You should know that the difference between the innate theurgy and martial skills is that the innate theurgy belongs to you alone. Once you comprehend it, it will become a skill that only you can use because it contains your unique understanding of the divine runes and the power of the heaven and earth. The gray-clothed figure continued. There are many great desolate grade pills here that have been stored for generations. It should be enough for you to comprehend the innate theurgy. As for the combat weapons and martial skills, they are only at the heaven grade. They're not attractive to you. Long Yu nodded. Since the first Shura Prefecture king, who was also the founder of the Shura Prefecture, had said so, he would do as he was told. As long as he entered the secret realm, it would be easy for Long Yu to deal with an ordinary third path god. At that time, even without the protection of the Shura Prefecture, he would not be in a terrible situation. As for the fate of the Shura Prefecture, it was not something he could influence at the moment. By the way, Senior, I have another question. Long Yu thought about what the man had said and suddenly asked, since Senior is a remnant consciousness in the ancient Azura Palace, how do you know about the recent events in the Shura Prefecture? From the man's words, Long Yu knew that the man knew about the recent events in the Shura Prefecture, including Long Yu's martial talent and character. It was understandable if he knew about his martial talent, but understanding his character was not something that could be done in a short period of time. It was definitely because the man had been observing him. There is a formation in the ancient Azura Palace that can observe the situation in the Shura Prefecture. The man in gray laughed softly. If you want to see the situation in some places, I can project it so that you can know the situation outside. I understand. Long Yu nodded and said, then let me see the situation in the Shura Valley. The people of the Tianqing dynasty should have arrived, right? Yes, that is indeed the case. The gray-robed figure nodded his head and raised his hand. A scene of the Azura Valley gradually appeared in front of Long Yu's eyes. At this time, 5 King Path God Realm powerhouses descended on the Shura Valley. These 5 powerhouses were all from the Tianqing dynasty. As soon as they arrived at the Shura Valley, they went straight to the Shura Prefecture king. A pitch-black cloud rose from the Shura Valley, and the figure of the Shura Prefecture king appeared in front of everyone. At the same time, a beautiful woman in a silver dress accompanied the Shura Prefecture king. This person was Jing. Chapter 566. Long Yu shifted his gaze and noticed that at the bottom of Azura Valley, in the courtyard where little county princess Shu Chan was, the crowd had already started moving. Xing Wu and Jia Banxian were in charge of the situation. They led Feng Haofeng, Feng Yuexin, and a dozen others out of the courtyard. They boarded an Azura spiritual boat and flew out of Azura Valley at an extremely fast speed. Are they going to retreat? But the problem is, once we leave Azura Valley, the entire Azura County will not be safe. Seeing this, Long Yu's face slightly sunk. However, he believed in Xing Wu and Jia Banxian's character. They would definitely not let everyone suffer too much grievance along the way. As for where they were going, Long Yu believed that someone was guiding them. There was no need to worry about not being able to find them. The 50 people who had their qualifications to enter the Azura Ancient Palace had long since scattered in all directions. Bai Qing, Tian Xinghe, and the others knew that a great change was about to occur in the Azura County, so they each made their own arrangements. If they were alone, there would not be much to say. It was better for them to leave before the situation became completely chaotic. However, Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe had many subordinates. They did not listen to the Azura County King's words and immediately left Azura Valley. By the time they gathered their subordinates and wanted to leave, it was already too late. The experts from Tianqing Dynasty had already surrounded the entire Azura Valley. Apart from the 5 Emperor Road Mystic Realm experts, there were also more than a dozen 7 Daos Transcendent Realm experts. It was impossible for Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe to leave Azura Valley alone. Since you want to fight, come at me. In the sky above Azura Valley, the Azura County King took the silver mirror and quickly flew towards the sky. He quickly approached the area where the Azura Ancient Palace was located. The sixth prince of the Tianqing dynasty is in this ancient palace right now. As long as I think about it, I can completely detonate this ancient palace and turn your sixth prince into ashes. The Azura Duke scanned his surroundings as the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He glanced at the 5 Emperor Road secret realm cultivators who had caught up to him and said, I know that all of you want to take over this ancient Azura palace, which is said to be an ancient weapon. However, I'm afraid that with just you, the sixth prince, alone, I'm afraid it's a bit wishful thinking. You think you can make this ancient palace explode? One of them snorted coldly in disbelief. If you don't believe me, why don't you try taking another step forward? The Azura Duke's eyes flashed with a cold light as he stared at that person. Don't be impulsive. Since the Azura King says so, how about we stay out of each other's business? The other Emperor Path secret realm cultivator smiled and raised his hand. We will guard here. Don't push the monkey too far. But at the same time, the Shura prefecture will belong to our Tianqing dynasty. You, Shura King, can give up this land. Pass down my order. All martial cultivators in Azura County are to pay 3,000 Tianqing coins to all those who are at the Transcendent Realm. Those in Heavenly Person's Secret Realm are to pay 1,000 Tianqing coins. Those in True Spirit's Secret Realm and below are to pay 300 Tianqing coins. Only then will they be protected by the Tianqing dynasty. Otherwise, they will be killed without mercy. Special sects and forces will have to pay a different amount of Tianqing coins. For example, the 3 major sects of Shura Prefecture will have to pay 10 million Tianqing coins if they want to continue to exist. Otherwise, their entire sect will be destroyed. As the voice of the Emperor Path secret realm cultivator spread, the entire Shura Prefecture began to truly descend into chaos. The most chaotic place was clearly near the Shura Valley in the center of the prefecture. After all the martial cultivators here had seen with their own eyes that the 5 cultivators from the Tianqing dynasty had descended and surrounded the Azura Duke. Thus, these weak martial cultivators naturally could not withstand the ferocious attacks of the Tianqing dynasty. Most people quickly paid the Tianqing coins required for their respective martial cultivation realms. This amount of Tianqing coins was something that every martial cultivator would need at least a year to earn. No one would not feel the pain of paying it. But in the face of the Tianqing dynasty's collection order, no one dared to resist. In Shura Valley, there were actually quite a number of people who resisted. But after the hundreds and thousands of martial cultivators were all killed by the Tianqing dynasty's generals, no one else dared to resist. Some Jianghu martial cultivators were so poor that they couldn't afford to pay such a high fee, so they had to use pills or weapons instead. If they really couldn't pay, they had to join the Tianqing dynasty's martial army and be used as pawns and cannon fodder. In the Scarlet Moon Valley Exchange House, Uncle Qi and Yun Jintian looked at the Tianqing dynasty general in front of them with worried expressions. My lord, our exchange house's annual turnover is only 3 to 4 million Tianqing coins. You want us to pay 5 million Tianqing coins all of a sudden? This is really too much for us. Uncle Qi frowned as he spoke to the burly Tianqing dynasty general in front of him with some difficulty. The Tianqing dynasty general was a super expert of the 7 divine realms. He led a group of martial cultivators and soldiers who had broken through space to rush to Shura Prefecture and surrounded the Scarlet Moon Valley Exchange House. If you can't pay 5 million Tianqing coins, then just wait to be annihilated. The general laughed coldly when he heard Uncle Qi's refusal. He did not waste any more words with Uncle Qi and turned to leave. My lord, please wait. It's not impossible to pay 5 million Tianqing coins, but our exchange house can still continue to operate in the future, right? The youth beside Uncle Qi, Yun Jintian, immediately stopped the general and asked anxiously, "If you pay enough Tianqing coins or use items as collateral, then not only can you continue to operate in the future, you will also receive the protection of our Tianqing dynasty." The general said coldly, "Uncle Qi, then what are we waiting for?" Yun Jintian hurriedly pushed Uncle Qi's shoulder and said anxiously, "Paying 5 million Tianqing coins is not a loss. Even if we can't take out so much cash now, our exchange house has many goods in stock. It's not difficult to take out 5 million Tianqing coins." Uncle Qi had lived for 300 years, so he naturally knew what the current situation was. He was very clear that the Tianqing dynasty was finally going to make a move on the Azura prefecture and take over this land. The fundamental reason was that the Azura prefecture was too fertile, and the cultivation resources produced there were much higher than other places. So I forget it. It's only a matter of time anyway. The Tianqing dynasty is looking at such a big piece of meat. How can they not eat it? Uncle Qi thought through these problems and immediately sighed. Forget it, forget it. Hand over the 5 million Tianqing coins. Yun Jintian, you settle this matter. If the young master comes back and asks, you'll have to explain it to him. Don't worry, Uncle Qi, even if the young master finds out about this, he can't blame us. Yun Jintian spoke rather excitedly. Then, he led the Tianqing dynasty general into the interior of the exchange hall with a fawning smile on his face. Yun Jintian was currently a youth at the 5 Daos divine realm. However, his true strength might not even be comparable to a 4 Daos divine realm martial cultivator. It was only because his father was a high-level manager of the Scarlet Moon Valley Trading House that he was able to obtain a lot of cultivation resources and forcefully break through to the 5 Daos divine realm. He usually followed behind Qi Shaoyin and swaggered around. Last time, he even provoked Long Yu and arranged a battle with Long Yu. Unfortunately, such a huge change had occurred. My lord, these are all green edge diamonds, worth 400,000 Tianqing coins. Yun Jintian took out the green edge diamonds that Long Yu had sold previously, and immediately, the eyes of the 7 divine realm experts of the Tianqing dynasty lit up. So many green edge diamonds, how rare. The general nodded in satisfaction. That's right, my lord. There's another piece of news. These green edge diamonds were all sold by a boy called Long Yu. He also has a green edge diamond the size of a human head. Last time, we wanted to buy it in the exchange house, but that boy refused to sell it. Yun Jintian considered his words and smiled flatteringly. Oh, then where's Long Yu now? A look of anticipation appeared in the eyes of the Tianqing general. A green-edged diamond the size of a human head was worth at least 1 million Tianqing coins. This was not something that could be obtained under normal circumstances. If he could find that boy and snatch the green-edged diamond from him, he would be rich. Although he had collected 5 million Tianqing coins from the exchange house, this money belonged to the Tianqing dynasty and had nothing to do with him. In the end, he would only get a few tens of thousands as a fee. If he could find that Long Yu, the final result would be different. He should be in the Azura Sacred Land now. He obtained 3rd place in the Azura selection. Yun Jintian said carefully, Azura Sacred Land? When the general heard this, he immediately lost interest. He knew that the entire Azura Sacred Land was the 6th prince's prey. Asking him to fight with the 6th prince for something, wouldn't that be courting death? In the Azura Valley, Bai Qing, Tian Xinghe, and the others were quickly surrounded by the Tianqing dynasty's martial cultivator generals. I heard that you are the disciples of the Azura King. Pay 100,000 Tianqing coins each, or you will be killed. The 7 transcendent realm Tianqing general glanced at Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe, who were surrounded in the middle of the courtyard, and spoke in a disdainful tone. Since they realized that they couldn't leave, Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe brought their subordinates and stayed in the courtyard. When he heard the other party's price, Tian Xinghe's expression sank. 100,000 Tianqing coins. I can't take it out right now. What a joke. How can a disciple of the Azura King not be able to take out 100,000 Tianqing coins? The 7 transcendent realm Tianqing general sneered. I heard that you have a great desolate grade warrior. If you really can't take out Tianqing coins, then use the warrior as collateral. Hold on. I'll give you these 100,000 Tianqing coins. I'll give my senior brothers as well. Bai Qing suddenly spoke calmly, stopping the Tianqing general who was about to make a move. It's a total of 200,000 Tianqing coins, including our subordinates. It's a total of 230,000 Tianqing coins. I'll give it to you. From now on, we will no longer have any relationship with the Azura King and will be free people of the Tianqing dynasty. Junior sister, Tianqinghe was originally a little touched that Bai Qing was willing to pay for him, but when he heard the last sentence, his expression changed slightly. Senior brother, shut up. Bai Qing snorted coldly, leaving Tianqinghe speechless. Chapter 567. In Azura Valley, countless groups and martial cultivators paid in Tianqing dollars, which all fell into the pockets of the Tianqing dynasty. And the Tianqing dynasty's general's order of expropriation did not only affect Azura Valley, but quickly spread to the entire Azura County. In the Azura Ancient Palace, Long Yu took heaven-grade and great desolate-grade elixirs and tried to break through to the divine secret realm. At the same time, he used the image of the outside world created by the first Azura Duke to observe everything outside. In just 3 days, the entire Azura County was basically destroyed. The people of the Tianqing dynasty had arrived at every corner of the Azura County and completely controlled the land. As for the Azura Duke, he could only stand guard outside the Azura Ancient Palace with Een Mirror. He used the Sixth Prince's life as a threat to prolong his last breath. It had to be known that the other party had 5 King Path Mystic Realm experts. Just the Azura Duke and Een Mirror alone would not be a match for them. Seeing the entire Azura County occupied by the people of the Tianqing dynasty, the Azura Duke's heart ached, but there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, he had informed the 50 young geniuses who could not enter the Azura Ancient Palace. No matter what, they should be able to escape, right? On the 7th day, Long Yu saw Xing Wu and Jia Banxian bring Feng Haofeng, Feng Yusin, Yin Huanma, Shi Yingwu, as well as Bufang, Feng Yao, and Yiluan. They boarded an Azura spirit boat and left the Azura County at an extremely fast speed, heading north. North of the Azura County, after passing through 4 or 5 counties, including Liang County, we will reach another dynasty and leave the territory of the Tianqing dynasty. The remnant will of the first Azura Duke told Long Yu, the only destination we can go to is that dynasty. The emperor of that dynasty is an old friend of mine, and he doesn't have a good relationship with the emperor of Tianqing. When the time comes, he will definitely protect us. You should rest and build up your strength in that dynasty. Once you are strong enough, it won't be too late to come back for revenge. Long Yu did not have any hatred towards the Tianqing dynasty for destroying the Azura County and ruling over it. But thinking about it, Shu Chan must hate them very much. Since it was related to Shu Chan, of course, Long Yu could not stay out of it. Moreover, something that shocked the entire Azura County happened very soon. Mo Zhaiqian's dark, shadowed demonic track, one of the 3 great sects of Ashura region, was besieged by the Tianqing dynasty and was forced to pay 10 million Tianqing coins. The experts of the sect swore to defend against the experts of the Tianqing dynasty. In the end, the 2 sides fought, and blood flowed like a river. The experts of the Dark Shadow Spectre used their own methods to kill countless enemies. Unfortunately, the Tianqing dynasty was too powerful. With the arrival of their reinforcements, the entire Dark Shadow demonic tracks became the domain of the Tianqing dynasty, and the entire Devil sect was destroyed. Of course, every martial cultivator of the Dark Shadow demonic track was proficient in concealment. Although their sects had been destroyed, the souls of their sects still existed. The martial cultivators of the sects had all escaped from their sects and hid in remote areas of Shura County, waiting for a chance to rise again and take revenge for their friends and family. The news of the Dark Shadow demonic tracks being annihilated spread out, causing the entire Azura County to be in a state of panic. Even the Dark Shadow demonic tracks, one of the three great sects, had been annihilated. How could the rest of the people in the Shura County possibly have the ability to resist? The other two large sects, including the Scarlet Moon Valley, had originally been watching, but when they heard that the Dark Shadow Spectre had been destroyed, they immediately compromised with the Tianqin dynasty. They paid 10 million Tianqin coins and submitted to the Tianqin dynasty's rule. Then, the Tianqin dynasty made use of the two large sects and made them its lackeys. They went out to find people who disobeyed the rule of the Tianqin dynasty and issued the order to expropriate them. Those who disobeyed were killed without mercy. Since then, the entire Shura prefecture had completely fallen. The people of the two great sects had originally been people of the Shura prefecture, but in the blink of an eye, they had become the claws and teeth of the Tianqin dynasty that had oppressed the Shura prefecture's martial practitioners. Among the two large sects, there were many tyrannical martial disciples who used the privilege of working for the Tianqin dynasty to plunder ordinary martial practitioners of the Jianghu. They were successful in every endeavor, and if they encountered resistance, they were quickly suppressed with the help of the Tianqin dynasty. Long Yu was cultivating in the ancient Azura Palace, but he could see the faces of the people from the two large sects, especially the people from the Scarlet Moon Valley. Under the leadership of the Scarlet Moon Valley Master, Qi Fantian, they were plundering the people without restraint. It was likely that they would soon be able to plunder back the 10 million Tianqin coins that they had lost. The young master of the Scarlet Moon Valley, Qi Xiaoyin, was ranked second in the Shura selection. At this time, he was also in the ancient Azura Palace. It was unknown if he knew what was happening outside. However, Long Yu saw that Qi Fantian actually had an adopted son named Qi Xiaofeng. He was about the same age as Qi Xiaoyin, but his martial realm had already reached the 7 Dao's divine power realm. While this person was plundering everywhere, he also expressed that he wanted to get his hands on the princess Shu Chan to play with. Unfortunately, Qi Fantian warned him that the sixth prince had already reserved that little beauty, Shu Chan, so it was better for him not to have any thoughts about her. These words were heard by Long Yu, and he was quite angry in his heart. The Scarlet Moon Valley was indeed full of scum. It was one thing for Qi Xiaoyin to be disrespectful to Shu Chan, but this Qi Xiaofeng actually had such thoughts about Shu Chan. It was infuriating. However, the ancient Azura Palace being able to monitor the entire Shura County like this was beyond Long Yu's expectations. If that's the case, Long Yu suddenly thought of the person who had tricked him into going to the valley where the Azura sacred tree was. He should also be able to find him from the ancient Azura Palace, right? Long Yu immediately raised this question to the remnant will of the first Azura Duke, and the other party directly replied, "That person is indeed Skystar River's younger brother, Sky Moon River. Rumor has it that he was killed a long time ago while training in the Tianqin dynasty. However, the truth is that he is still alive, and he is helping Skystar River do some shady things all over the place." As expected, a murderous intent flashed in Long Yu's eyes. No matter what happened to the Shura County, it didn't matter much to Long Yu. However, Sky Moon River had once tried to kill Long Yu, and this enmity was something that Long Yu had to take revenge for. He shifted the image to Skystar River and discovered that in the Shura Valley, Skystar River and Sky Moon River had openly walked together, and together with Bai Qing, they had become the Tianqin dynasty's lackeys, going around to deal with martial cultivators who didn't submit to the Tianqin dynasty's rule. Regardless of whether it was because they were forced to do so, Long Yu's impression of them had become very bad. If there was a chance, Long Yu really wanted to kill Skystar River and Bai Qing together. Bai Qing's cousin Bai Tong was in Ice Heaven Valley, and Bai Ming's Heaven Search sect, which Long Yu had once been threatened by in the Dreamscape, as well as all the other large sects in Ashura County, except for the demonic Shadow Clan, had all submitted to the direct rule of the Tianqin dynasty. To these sects, they had only paid a protection fee, and the expert protecting them had changed from the Azura Duke to the Tianqin Emperor. This was not a bad thing for them. They could do as they were normally, and because they were sects, they could still assist the Tianqing dynasty in the current chaotic situation and plunder ordinary martial cultivators. Time passed day by day. Long Yu continued to cultivate, deeply exploring the power of the various divine characters he had comprehended. He already had some ideas about the first innate theurgy he wanted to comprehend. However, to completely break through the bottleneck and condense the innate theurgy from the theurgy seed was not a simple matter, and it was not something that could be achieved just by consuming medicinal pills. Within a month, Long Yu had consumed dozens of heaven-grade elixirs and 5 great desolate grade elixirs. The heaven and earth spiritual chi within his body had become incomparably abundant. Even his 9 nether tyrant body had improved by 2 levels. During this period, Long Yu used the 9 Yu divine characters and siphon divine characters to temper his flesh and dantian, reaching the 4th level. His physical strength was several times stronger than before. As his comprehension of the netherworld divine characters and the siphon divine characters increased, as well as his compatibility with the shadow and life divine characters increased, his netherworld tyrant body naturally continued to strengthen. It could be said that his progress was extremely rapid. Now, your compatibility with the shadow and life divine characters is at the 2nd level. If you can break through to the theurgy secret realm, it will naturally rise to the 3rd level. This will undoubtedly be a qualitative improvement to your combat strength. The remnant consciousness of the first Azura Duke looked up and down Long Yu's body with satisfaction. With your talent, it's a pity that you started martial arts too late. Otherwise, your achievements would definitely be much more than this. All right, your cultivation will stop here for now. If I'm not wrong, one of the true spirits you condensed has the effect of intimidating others, right? This last sentence caused Long Yu to pause for a moment. Then, he recalled that the Azura Ancient Palace was able to clearly investigate everything within the Azura County. It wasn't strange for them to know that he was the true spirit of the 9 Nether Dragon. Yes, that's right. Long Yu admitted frankly. At this time, there was no point in denying this to the other party. The first time you released this true spirit was on Heavenly Mandate Island. At that time, I had already started to pay attention to you. The 9 Yu Dragon true spirit produces a tyrannical pressure that can instantly intimidate others. According to my deduction, even an Emperor Path Secret Realm cultivator can be intimidated for a breath's time. And this breath's time is enough for us. The other party's words caused Long Yu to feel slightly puzzled. What do you need me to do next? Long Yu asked. That's right. The remnant consciousness of the 2nd Azura Duke said, in this 1 month, the 6th Prince and his maidservant have broken through all the checkpoints in the Azura Ancient Palace. They are nearing the center of the Azura Ancient Palace, the location of the Azura Stone. We must kill him here before he obtains the Azura Stone. So was the deal with the 6th Prince. Chapter 568. Within the ancient Azura Palace, there were many remnant consciousnesses of the Shura County's ancestors, such as the first Shura Duke's consciousness. However, these consciousnesses did not have much combat power. They could only control a portion of the ancient Azura Palace's power, because they had fused with it. The 6th Prince of the Tianqing dynasty had entered the ancient Azura Palace with the sole purpose of obtaining it. Thus, after entering, he headed straight for the center of the ancient Azura Palace in search of the Shura Stone. The Shura Stone, located in the center of the ancient Azura Palace, was the core of the entire ancient Azura Palace. Controlling the Shura Stone meant controlling the entire ancient Azura Palace. The closer one got to the Shura Stone, the stronger the consciousnesses of the Shura County's ancestors would be able to control the ancient Azura Palace's power. Thus, if they wanted to kill the 6th Prince, they had to wait until he reached the center of the ancient Azura Palace. The consciousnesses of the Shura County's ancestors had resisted the 6th Prince for nearly a month. Finally, The sixth prince had reached the Shura stone in the center of the ancient Azura palace. Now, it was time for Long Yu and the others to make their move. As long as you can stun the sixth prince for a breath's time, we can activate the Shura thought-killing formation and trap him within. Then, we can use the ancient Azura palace's power to trap and kill him. The first Shura Duke's consciousness said, although the consciousnesses of us in the palace will be turned to ashes after activating the Shura thought-killing formation. If we don't do this, we will not be able to kill the sixth prince. If this drags on, we will all die. Long Yu nodded when he heard this. He knew that the Shura Duke and Jing had been in a standoff with the 5 Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouses from the Tianqing dynasty outside the ancient Azura Palace. It was likely that a conflict would erupt soon. In the past month, the entire Shura County had fallen under the Tianqing dynasty's control. All that was left was to kill the Shura Duke. If they weren't worried about the six princes' safety, the 5 of them would have attacked the Shura Duke long ago. It seemed that they wanted to wait until the sixth prince controlled the ancient Azura Palace before making their move. Otherwise, they were afraid that they would accidentally injure the sixth prince in the ancient Azura Palace. That would be difficult to explain to the Tianqing dynasty. All right, then please send me there. So long as the time is right, I'll release the dragon of the 9 underworld's true spirit and give all of you the opportunity to set up the formation. Long Yu solemnly nodded his head. At this time, there was no use for him to hide anything. Right now, the Azura County, Scarlet Moon Valley, Skystar River, and the others had all become the Tianqing dynasty's lackeys. If Long Yu did not think of a way to escape, he would most likely be dismembered the moment he appeared. Therefore, it was imperative for Long Yu to defeat the sixth prince and allow Shu Quan to control the Azura ancient palace and escape to the neighboring empire. Seeing Long Yu nod his head in agreement, the first Azura Duke's remnant will felt much more comforted. Then prepare yourself. I will use the power of the divine rune of space to teleport you to the center of the Azura ancient palace. As soon as he finished speaking, Long Yu felt the power of spatial divine runes envelop his entire body. Very quickly, they brought him through the bindings of space. In the blink of an eye, the scenery around him changed. Originally, when Long Yu first entered the Azura ancient palace, he was arranged to be placed in an independent space. Because of his unique talent, he was arranged to cultivate in peace. However, there were only 12 independent spaces like this in the entire Azura ancient palace. Apart from Long Yu, there were also Man Xian, Qi Hua, and Lu Yuan. Because their martial arts realms were too low, they were arranged to have one each. As for the 50 people from the Tianqing dynasty and the Six Princes group, they did not receive such treatment. They all appeared in the complex ancient palace passageways. After many difficulties, the sixth prince finally arrived at the center of the Azura ancient palace with his maidservant, Golden Charm. As for the other people from the Tianqing dynasty, they were all blocked outside the Azura ancient palace to prevent them from entering and causing trouble. Long Yu was transported by the power of space. As soon as he opened his eyes, he found himself in a spacious, dark palace. In the center of the palace floated a pitch-black stone. Presumably, this was the core of the Azura ancient palace, the Azura Stone. In this palace, there was no one else except for the first Azura Duke's remnant, that followed Long Yu here, and the 2 gray figures guarding the palace's entrance. These 2 were also the remnant wills of the Azura County's ancestor. They deliberately guarded the palace's entrance to protect the Azura Stone. There was only one exit in the entire palace, and it was the position guarded by the 2 ancestor remnant wills. From the stone door that led to the exit, a series of sounds of intense fighting could be heard, causing Long Yu's expression to change. Hurry up and go take a look. Long Yu, listen to my command. Release the 9 nether dragon's true spirit, and you will be able to kill the 6th prince. The first Azura Duke's remnant solemnly said. Junior understands. As Long Yu spoke, he stood up and turned into a pitch-black beam of light, rapidly flying out of the palace. When he arrived at the stone door of the palace, he looked outside and saw a long corridor in front of him. Many people were fighting fiercely in the corridor, and Mo Jietian and Shu Chan were the main ones. Mo Jietian was wearing a black robe. It was as if he didn't exist at all, and he looked extremely gloomy. However, he could release extremely powerful divine symbols of the dark shadow with a wave of his hand. His destructive power was extremely shocking. As for Shu Chan, she had already condensed the eye of Azura behind her. As soon as she used this innate theurgy, the whole place was instantly enveloped by the power of the Azura divine symbols. Mo Jietian and Shu Chan's opponents were the sixth prince's maidservant in a golden robe. She seemed to be called Gold Succubus. As for the sixth prince himself, he was temporarily trapped at the end of the corridor by many gray figures using the power of the Azura ancient palace. He was unable to escape. The top geniuses of the Azura prefecture are just SOSO. You can't even defeat a mere maidservant like me. The maidservant, Gold Succubus, stood proudly. She waved her hand, and the power of the divine symbols of light burst out, pushing Mo Jietian and Shu Chan back. The maidservant, Gold Succubus, took a step forward and said disdainfully, "When a sixth prince takes control of the Azura ancient palace, only death will await you. If you swear allegiance to him now, he might spare your lives. You're courting death." As soon as Gold Succubus finished her words, an expert beside her snorted angrily and charged at her with a longsword. This person was Shu Chan's subordinate, the silent and unsociable Dugu Ijian. "I'll go too." On the other side, a woman in a long green dress also attacked the golden sucker with a shout. "It's moon green yarn. Gravity ridge ring, catch." Seeing this, Long Yu's eyes immediately lit up. Since Yu Qingsha was already standing on the same side as him, he naturally wouldn't hide it anymore. The desolate level gravity ridge ring that he had placed in the storage space of the Nether Dragon Blade immediately flew toward Yu Qingsha. When Yu Qingsha heard this, she turned her head. With just a single glance, a look of surprise flashed through her eyes. Clearly, she had not expected Long Yu to appear at this moment and return the battle weapon to her. But this was exactly what she wanted. Gravity Ridge Ring. Let's kill the enemy together. Yu Qingsha's green figure flashed and took the Gravity Ridge Ring. She activated the power of the divine symbols, causing the Gravity Ridge Ring to enlarge and fly toward the maidservant, Gold Succubus. At the same time, Duguijian's sword Qi was like a shooting star. It arrived in the blink of an eye and was about to kill the maidservant, Gold Succubus. Tianqin Dynasty, boundless divine symbols break. The maidservant, Gold Succubus, looked at Gold Succubus with disdain. She raised her golden sleeve, and a golden divine light spread out, blocking the Gravity Ridge Ring and changing its direction, flying toward Dugu Ijian's sword Qi. The Gravity Ridge Ring blocked the sword Qi and blocked Dugu Ijian's sword Qi. Dugu Ijian's sword Qi also made Yu Qingsha spit out a mouthful of blood. Even the desolate level Gravity Ridge Ring was shaken by Dugu Ijian's sword Qi. Get lost. Gold Succubus' petite figure took a step forward, and the golden divine characters continued to radiate outwards, sending Yu Qingsha and Dugu Ijian flying. This maidservant is so strong. Long Yu was shocked. The sixth prince's golden-robed maidservant was only at the 7 Daos divinity realm. She was about the same age as Mo Jietian, but she could already resist Mo Jietian and Shu Chan. This person is one of the future Tianqin Emperor's concubines. Of course, her strength is unfathomable. An unfamiliar voice came from beside Long Yu. Long Yu turned his head and saw a white-haired young man. He had never seen him before. He only remembered that this person was one of the 50 young geniuses who entered the Azura ancient palace. "I am Fu Tsubing. You must be Long Yu." The white-haired young man smiled and said politely, "I have long heard of Brother Long's name. It's an honor to meet you. It's useless to look up to me now. It's better to find a way to kill the enemy." Long Yu said with a smile, "It's not easy to kill the enemy. The sixth prince is trapped by the ancestors' remnant consciousness. It's only a matter of time before he gets out. After all, the ancestors' remnant consciousness can't use much of the ancient palace's power. Fu Tsubing's face turned serious. The sixth prince's maidservant is unstoppable. If it wasn't for Imo Zhejian and the princess, the maidservant, Golden Charm, would have rushed into the central hall of the ancient palace. I am only at the 4 Daos divinity realm. I am considered one of the top young geniuses in the Azura County. However, I am nothing in front of this maidservant. By the way, you said that this maidservant is one of the future Tianqin Emperor's concubines. What do you mean? Long Yu asked after thinking for a while. Don't you know? Fu Tsubing said, this maidservant, Golden Charm, has been the sixth prince's maidservant since he was young. The sixth prince is the most likely candidate to inherit the Tianqin Emperor's throne. Sooner or later, this maidservant will sleep with him. In other words, she already is. I see. However, I don't think the sixth prince has a chance to inherit his father's legacy. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Oh, what do you mean? Fu Tsubing looked at Long Yu in surprise. At this moment, the remnant consciousness of the first Azura County king floated to Long Yu's side and communicated with him through divine consciousness. Now is the time. Release your true spirit. Chapter 569. Long Yu nodded. Understood, senior. Immediately afterward, the first Azura Duke's remaining consciousness pounced toward the sixth prince, who was at the end of the corridor. He casually condensed a wave of eerie and strange power that almost filled the entire corridor. The golden robe maid, Golden Charm, quickly dodged to the side. She knew that she could not withstand the old man's attack. The first Azura Duke's remnant consciousness was the strongest of all the remnant consciousnesses. The power he could use from the ancient Azura Palace was naturally much stronger than the other remnant consciousnesses. Unfortunately, none of the first Azura Duke's descendants were able to step into the Imperial Path Hidden Realm. It was only when the current Azura Duke was born that there was finally someone to inherit the Azura Duke's position. In the entire ancient Azura Palace, the first Azura Duke's remnant consciousness was the strongest. It was naturally used to deal with the sixth prince. As for the mere maid, she was nothing in his eyes. Although he would be able to kill the golden succubus, it would also consume a lot of his energy. To the remnant will of the first Azura Duke, who was about to run out of energy, it was not worth it. His strength had to be used on the most crucial sixth prince. Good timing. Feeling the first Azura Duke's remnant consciousness rushing towards him, the young sixth prince laughed out loud. He raised his hand and took out a golden bell-shaped battle weapon. The young sixth prince was surrounded by the 8 remnant consciousnesses of the Azura County. It seemed like he was barely holding on. The remnant consciousnesses were guessing that this young man knew their strength was limited. Thus, he was stalling for time. Once they exhausted all their energy, he would be able to take away the entire ancient Azura Palace. But now, it seemed like the sixth prince had been holding back. Only when the first Azura Duke's remnant consciousness appeared did the sixth prince reveal his trump card. The golden bell-shaped battle weapon was a battle weapon that surpassed the Great Desolate rank. Tianqin Golden Royal Bell, it's time for you to make your appearance. The sixth prince laughed wildly. The golden bell in his hand emitted a series of crisp chimes. It was as if a divine being was playing music. Everyone in the hall could not help but want to submit to it. It's the Tianqin Golden Royal Bell. Seeing this, the first Azura Duke's remnant was shocked. It was actually this battle weapon. Tianqin Golden Emperor Bell. What kind of battle weapon is that? Is it famous? At the end of the corridor, Long Yu asked Fu Tsubing. Not just famous. Fu Tsubing was also a little shocked at this moment. It was Long Yu's question that pulled him back to reality. He replied, the Great Desolation level combat weapons that ordinary people like us possess are mostly lower Great Desolation level combat weapons, or at most middle Great Desolation level combat weapons. However, this Tianqin Golden Emperor Bell is an upper Great Desolation level combat weapon. I'm afraid there's only one combat weapon of this level in the entire Tianqing dynasty. The Tianqing Emperor relied on this Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell to become the ruler of the Tianqing dynasty. I never thought that the sixth prince would actually bring the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell out on this trip. One can imagine how much hope the Tianqing Emperor has for his son. Fu Tsubing said with great emotion. The power of an upper Great Desolation level combat weapon was on a completely different level from a lower or middle Great Desolation level combat weapon. This was especially true for the Tianqing Emperor Bell, as it was the Tianqing Emperor's personal combat weapon. It had long reached an extremely high level of compatibility with the Tianqing Emperor, and it possessed an extremely acute self-awareness. If not for this, the sixth prince would not have brought the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell with him. Just like other combat weapons, Great Desolation level combat weapons are divided into lower, middle, upper, supreme, and supreme levels. After hearing Fu Tsubing's words, Long Yu could not help but think, although the ancient Dragon Bone Tower I have is a Great Desolation level combat weapon, its grade has definitely surpassed the upper Great Desolation level. It's even a supreme Great Desolation level combat weapon. It's a pity that part of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower is damaged, so I can't tell what grade it is exactly. As for the Void Nether Dragon Blade, it's an ancient level combat weapon. To the Shura County and the Tianqing dynasty, it's a legendary existence. If I can properly unleash its power, even the Tianqing Emperor would be nothing in front of me. Long Yu thought to himself. He raised his head and looked at the corridor ahead, carefully observing the six princes' every move. He was ready to release the dragon of the nine underworld's real spirit at any time. After the sixth prince took out the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell, it let out a series of ringing sounds. It was like the melody of an emperor that covered the entire corridor. The 8 remnant consciousnesses of the Shura County's ancestors that were surrounding the sixth prince were blasted away by the melody. Each of their gray figures looked a little ragged, as if they had suffered serious injuries. Even the remnant consciousnesses of the first prince of Shura County and his gray figure faded a little. However, he was still an expert of the Emperor's Path Mystery Realm when he was alive. At this moment, he borrowed the power of the ancient Azura Palace and continued to charge forward, breaking through the defense of the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell in an extremely domineering manner. The awe-inspiring power of the ancient Azura Palace suddenly swept out, suppressing the power of the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell. However, the consciousness within the Tianqing Golden Emperor Bell seemed to become a little violent. Waves of melody rippled out from it, each wave stronger than the last. All of its destructive power was concentrated on the remnant consciousnesses of the first prince of Shura County. The remnant consciousnesses of the first prince of Shura County depended on the existence of the ancient Azura Palace. At this moment, he could only use the power of the ancient Azura Palace to defend himself. However, it was ultimately not his own strength, so he could not maintain it for too long. Seeing that the remnant consciousnesses of the first prince of Shura County were about to be completely destroyed in the next moment, Long Yu decided to take action. "Princess, pay attention." Long Yu suddenly took a few steps forward and quietly reminded Shu Chan, who was in front of him. He then turned his gaze towards the sixth prince in the distance. Shu Chan panted heavily, and her body was drenched in sweat. The battle with the maid, Golden Succubus, had almost exhausted all of her strength. However, she still stood firmly in front of the Golden Succubus, not allowing it to take even a single step forward. She had naturally sensed Long Yu's arrival. However, at this moment, she did not pay too much attention to Long Yu. This was because no matter how talented Long Yu was, he was still only a Tribulation Realm martial cultivator. In a battle that was close to the Emperor Path Secret Realm, it would not be of much use. In the ancient Azura Palace, the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda could not be released either. However, when she heard Long Yu's words, her heart suddenly skipped a beat. The corners of her lips curled up, revealing a sweet smile. She already knew what Long Yu wanted to do. Shu Chan had witnessed Long Yu's tyrannical dragon of 9 underworlds' true spirit. As long as it was released, it would be able to intimidate the surrounding people for a period of time. Even against the maid, golden succubus of the 7 paths of divinity or the 6th prince of the Emperor Path secret realm, it would still be effective. At a time like this, it was obvious what Shu Chan wanted to do. I'm making my move. Long Yu nodded at Shu Chan. Then, he suddenly exerted his strength. His entire body split into 5, forming 4 ancient shadows. Together, they used Shadow Flow Burst and Dragon Sparrow Instant Teleportation and flew towards the corridor. In the blink of an eye, he had passed by the maid, Golden Succubus. The maid Golden Succubus was stunned when she saw a Tribulation Realm Martial Cultivator rushing towards her. Normally, she would be able to kill such a fellow with a single slap. However, at this moment, she felt an unusual aura from Long Yu's body. Because Long Yu's speed was too fast, the Golden Succubus was forced to the edge of the corridor by the remnant consciousness of the first Azure Duke. In the end, she couldn't stop Long Yu, and Long Yu rushed to a place not far from the 6th prince. This guy, I don't care what your goal is. You're just a Tribulation Realm brat. How dare you attack the 6th prince? I'll tell you. No, you're not worthy. The maid Golden Succubus instantly unleashed an extremely powerful force. The golden divine characters turned into 5 streams of light that shot towards Long Yu and the 4 ancient shadows. Seeing this, Long Yu's heart trembled. Then, his main body and the 4 ancient shadows used Dragon Sparrow Flash and dodged to an independent space. Immediately after, Long Yu revolved his Dantian and took this opportunity to release the 9 Nether Dragon's true spirit. In the next moment, the aura of the 9 Nether spread throughout the entire area. A terrifying 9 Nether Dragon that seemed to have come from the Yellow Springs emerged from behind Long Yu. A wave of 9 Nether's aura suddenly spread out from where Long Yu stood. When the maid Golden Succubus's 5 golden divine characters struck Long Yu and the 4 ancient shadows, but they were all dodged by the Dragon Sparrow Flash. The 9 Nether Dragon's aura finally descended upon the maid Golden Succubus and the nearby 6th prince. The 6th prince was waiting for the Tianqin Golden Royal Bell to show its might so that he could seize the entire Azura Ancient Palace. But who would have thought that a fellow like Long Yu would suddenly appear, appearing so close to him and releasing a true spirit? In the next moment, the young 6th prince was stunned by the 9 Nether Dragon's true spirit's aura, and a dull look appeared in his eyes. As for the maid Golden Succubus, her martial arts realm was not as high as the 6th prince's. Of course, she would be stunned by the 9 Nether Dragon's true spirit for a longer period of time. During this period of time, she wouldn't even be able to think, let alone resist. Now, the young princess Shu Chan saw that the maid Golden Succubus was stunned, and the 9 Nether Dragon's aura stopped when it reached the Golden Succubus. She immediately took action. The reason why Long Yu wanted to rush past the Golden Succubus and release the 9 Nether Dragon's true spirit in the corridor ahead was because he wanted to control the range of its aura. When Long Yu released the 9 Nether Dragon's true spirit before, he knew that the range of its aura was around 100 feet. At this moment, he wanted to shock the maid Golden Succubus and the 6th prince without affecting Shu Chan and the others. Thus, he had to choose the best location to release the true spirit, and the position he had chosen was just right.